What's going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Bland back in the building with another episode of the Shop Podcast. How are you, beautiful people down there in the chat? We got another packed house, man. Shout out to all of you guys. We're back another beautiful Saturday evening. Got a lot of beautiful people in chat, man. We got a full panel, as you guys can see, and I just want to let you guys know as well too. Game Positive, who you guys see here and part of our panel member, he might not be here the full show, so I want to let you guys know right off the rip, not feeling well, but he made it here anyway. But shout out to you, and we'll get to the introductions here in a second, as well as Umbra. He might be running a little bit late as well too, so he'll fall in when he can. But shout out to all you guys, man. We got a lot to talk about. Obviously, we're gonna be talking about Starfield this week. We got a packed panel, packed show. Once again, retweet the link. Let everybody know the Shop Podcast is live. We are in here this evening, man. Well, let's go ahead and just get the pleasantries out the way. We'll go around a panel here. We got some new guest people here, been here for the very, very first time. So I'll start with that gentleman here. Shout out to you, Pixelbit G, man. Let everybody know where they can find you. And once again, thank you for coming on the show, bro. Thank you for hitting me back saying, yeah, you'll make time to come on. I appreciate that. But let everybody know where they can find you, brother.
All right. Appreciate the invite. My name is Pixelbit G. As you can see, you can find me usually on X under Pixelated G, and I sometimes show up on K Asante's show with Everborn Saga. So
awesome, man. Shout out to you. And once again, I sent out the bat signal. He hit me back, said, he has time. So we appreciate you, man. First time here at the Shop Podcast. So you know what it is. Now you family. You never know when you're going to get a message from me, man. So we appreciate you taking your time to hang out with us. We're going to have a phenomenal show, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you'll come back and do it again with us sometime soon. But we thank you for having thank you for being here, bro. Thank you so much, man. And I'm sure chat will reciprocate that love. What's up, Mav? What's up, Ashtray? I'm sure Blue is right behind you. What's up, Lewis? What's going on, chat? How you guys all doing? But let's go ahead and keep it moving, man. We got Game Positive in the house. How you doing, bro? I know you're a little bit under the weather, but you still made it. You thugging it out. Got the, we got the moisturizers. We got everything we need to make sure we can get through as much of this show as we can. But how you feeling, man?
Yeah, man, I'm got fever, a little sweaty, nothing staying down, but it was hard. It was really a road to get back here. I kept having excuses, so I wasn't going to make another one. So I'm here today for as long as my body will let me, I guess. For those who don't know, I am Eric, Game Positive. Sometimes I'm a podcaster, sometimes I'm a YouTuber. Most of the time, I write for seasongaming.com. You can check me out over there. Yeah, thanks again for having me.
Not a problem, man. And shout out to Ains, man. Season Gaming Love. He,
MVP.
Ains always coming through. Yeah, for sure, man. That man is a beautiful human being. Met him in person in LA during the showcase week, man. Amazing, amazing individual. But shout out to you as well for coming through, man. Making, like you said, thugging it out, man. Not even feeling well, but still coming through, man. But just let us know, man, when you need to roll. No problem, bro. All right. So we appreciate you being here. And last but not least, man, this man needs no introduction, man. The one half of the legendary living split screen, man. I would say, man, the battery, as much energy as Pong have, you guys match your energy. So shout out to you, Still Rain, man, for coming through, bro. We always love having you here, man. Chat, I'm sure loves having you here, but let everybody know where they can find you, G.
Well, PTK, what's poppin', baby? How you feeling, man?
Good, man.
It's been a wondrous week, man. It's like back to back. I've had one pretty expected thing with Armored Core 6, marvelous time, and then something just hit me upside the head. It's like they came through the door and said, "You need to drink this cup of Kool-Aid right now," and I'm knee deep in it. So I'm feeling good, feeling great. Yeah, you can find me Steel Rain everywhere. Probably Google's the easiest place to type it in. That's Steel Rain. The T is a 7. And PTK, I just appreciate you asking me to be on, man. It's a wondrous time to be on. Starfield just came out. It's seemingly starting a lot of we won't say disingenuous because people have valued conversation, has valued opinions, but some very interesting takes that I think we'll get into tonight. So appreciate you. And Pixel Bedhead, Game Positive. Good to see you guys here too, man.
Yeah, shout out to you, Still, man. You guys know this ain't Still first time on here at the Shop Podcast. Always coming through, showing love, bringing the energy, man. Shout out to you, Still, for coming through, man. And Living Split Screen Love, you guys show some love too, man. All that link is in the chat. We got goals to hit on Living Split Screen, man. We got to show love. They growing fast over there, so make sure you guys every Saturday morning show up, support the show, do what you can, watch on the replay. But thank you Still for coming through, man. So I got to throw this over to one of my brothers is not on the show, as you guys can see. So shout out to you, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere. He is out, on break this week, with the wife. So shout out to you, man. So rest up. We'll see you next week, hopefully, brother. But I do have my other brother here, right? And the battery of the no other ego can fit on his podcast. He is the filter. You know what I mean? He makes sure this thing is that. I just want to make sure I meet my contractual obligation here. Paul.
Umbra's not here yet. There's no ego. Let's
sure.
go. Let's go.
Go ahead, Paul. I was trying to get you gassed up.
Yeah,
but it didn't work.
You don't need to get me gassed up, man. I'm here on a Saturday night. There's no place I'd rather be. We got an amazing panel tonight. Shout out to Game Positive and Pixel Bit, and of course my brother from another Steel Range showing up. And whenever Umber wakes up, he'll be coming on by too. So we'll deal with him when he gets here. But what a week! What an absolutely incredible week. I think Starfield has broken large portions of this community. Absolutely 100% broken this community. We've got people that are giving this game an 8, arguing with people who say it's a 9 or a 10 because you can't do that. That's how bad it is. You think the game's good, but if somebody thinks it's better than what you think it is, that's a problem. Let alone the circus out here who continue to do what they do, even though Game of the Year for them, Baldur's Gate 3 is out and available on PS5, and so many were waiting on this thing, they still can't stop talking about Starfield. Unbelievable. I've seen it all this week, but just been enjoying the hell out of it. I've been in the stars the entire time this week, playing on my Series X exclusively this week. I have not touched the PC this week. I've been getting home late from work and just crashing on the couch, and it's so convenient to turn on my Series X and play it there. So now I'm just probably about 60-40 playing time on my Series X versus my PC.
Ease of use, huh?
Yeah, ease of use. And again, I'm not the guy who cares about 30 frames. I'm not the guy who, is there a big difference? Yes, there is a big difference graphically too. But I'm not so snobbish. I'm not so PCMR that I don't enjoy my Series X and the convenience, like you said, PTK. So been enjoying the hell out of Starfield, obviously. Again, it's my game of the year now. It is probably my game of the generation at this point, and will be. And it's moving up that list. It's right there with Oblivion and Skyrim, and I believe by the time it's all said and done, it's going to pass them and become my all-time favorite game. So just having a great time with it. I know so many people in this community actually are having a great time with it, posting pictures, posting screenshots, talking about this game nonstop, and that's a good thing. That's how you fight against the negativity that's out there right now. Well, so it's been a great week.
Ironically, that's been par for the course the entire year.
Yeah.
Honestly, right? It's not anything new. We've been talking about Starfield all year, irregardless of what other games come out. We're gonna get into that. I don't want to jump off the porch too early here. But shout out to Chad. I see Jax82, Louise, Talos, Poison, Shon Su. Shout out to everybody hanging out. Once again, we retweet that link. Let everybody know the Shop Podcast is live. But let's jump in here, man. And we actually, since the poll of the week this week actually is relevant and it pertains to what we're talking about, we gonna dive into it. So shout out to the over 500 people who voted on the poll of the week, man. Once again, if you want to be a part of that, follow me on X, the app formerly known as Twitter. PTK Blam, and that's something I put up every single Monday. We talk about it here at the Shop Podcast on Saturday, man. But this week's poll, obviously Starfield related, because we're not talking about anything else. We haven't really been the last 2 weeks here at the Shop Podcast, so it's pretty simple question, and I feel like it's a perfect time to ask the question, because at that point everybody got a chance to dive in. It was available to everybody. So the question was, is Starfield the best game to release in 2023? And over 500 people voted. 83% said yes, it was. So overwhelmingly favorite. And I want to get everybody's opinion here just quickly around the panel. We'll start with our first guest here, Pixel Bit. In your opinion, is Starfield the best game to release in 2023 in a year where we're getting like game of the years every single month?
It's certainly the best game I played this year. Straight up.
Okay.
Coming off Baldur's Gate 3, which prior to was the best game this year. Starfield made me stop playing that, so got to put it up there. Yep.
Okay. All right, that's fair. So are you new to Bethesda games?
I am not.
You're not. Okay, so what they. Okay, see, so I want to make sure we understand.
My first Bethesda game was Morrowind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
so
go
you're
back.
OG. So you're OG,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
no doubt.
Pong, OG back in the day. Okay, cool. No worries here. So once again, and just to throw mine in here too, chat. You guys know me. I've already said it. This game for me is definitely game of the year. It's already supplanted. I had Diablo at one point was my game of the year, but it's already supplanted that. I haven't, to be fair and transparent here, I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3, and I probably never will. I don't do those turn-based games, unfortunately. So that you might say that invalidates my opinion, maybe, but because
No.
I won't play that game. But
We'll get you there, PTK.
Okay,
We've
so
gotten you
maybe
into
baby
so
step.
many new games.
I
Next
know.
year, we're
You
going to
know
get you
what? I
turn
felt
based.
like
Let's go.
I felt like that was going to happen. I was thinking about it, and as I'm saying that, I'm like, there might be a little bit of room there for me to get into that. So we'll talk about that after the show. But yeah. So I think once again, just to reiterate the point here, Starfield is my game of the year, probably game of the generation. I'm new to Bethesda games. I've dabbled Skyrim, Fallout, as I said last week, but this is a completely new experience for me. I haven't felt like this probably, and we were talking about this pregame, probably since like Halo 2, Halo 3, that I felt this kind of energy in the community. It's such a unique experience. I've never really felt like the way I'm playing this game. It's a bunch of different, and you described this, I believe on you sent me a DM, Pong, saying it was like a movie set, right? Like every
Yes.
single scene is a new set, and you can make, and anything can happen in that particular set, right? As you play the game. And that's unique to me. I'm used to playing these linear ass games that kind of point me in an obvious direction, and they kind of handed me the keys and said, hey, here's a big ass game. Go do what you want to do. And that was overwhelming at first, but now I understand like why this game is unique and why people feel the way they feel about Bethesda games. So we're gonna throw this over to you, Game Positive. I know we talked about this. I'm sure you've been playing Starfield as much as you possibly can as well, but would it be the best game in 2023 for you too?
Personally, like my own biased opinion, I would say it's my game of the year. I think it's going to have competition with Zelda. I think Zelda was also a fantastic game, even though I think that's kind of it's not really a fair fight because they kind of got the luxury of building Tears of the Kingdom from the skeleton of Breath of the Wild. And Starfield is like a from scratch, like new endeavor. Like just imagine what Starfield 2 will be if they get to build it from the bones of Starfield 1. So like if I take my bias away, I think there's some competition, but my personal opinion, absolutely. Yeah, I fucking love this game. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear. I should have asked that, but
no, you're good. You're good. I just did it myself. We're good here. We're not rated for kids. I promise. Shout out to chat. No, we're good. But no, I 100% agree. It's such a unique experience, and I think that's the one thing that I want to make sure people hear. Shout out to everybody watching the chat and everybody coming in right now. But I want to make sure you guys understand what we're here for, man. We're here to put the respect and shine on this game that it actually deserves. I'm not here to convince you what number the game should be. I don't think any of us here on the panel are either. We just want to highlight like why we feel like this game is what it is and be 100% transparent and honest. And that's all you're gonna get here at the Shop Podcast. But I agree with you. It's a unique experience. I've never really played anything like it, and it's hard to. And like you said, it's so unique that we're asking it to be and do things that like no other game has ever offered. Like, hey, Starfield, you should be this good at space combat while being this good at storytelling, while being this good graphically, while being this good narratively, while being this good. You know what I mean? Like we're asking it to be all those things at one time. We don't ask that of any other game, do we? I don't think we're asking that of Spider-Man.
That's another game that we do that with.
What
it's
would you
also
say?
owned by Microsoft.
Oh, Halo, yeah. Okay.
See.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Good point. But go ahead.
I was just gonna say real quick. I think to your point though, there are very few games that have to do kind of a bit of everything, either completely perfect or it's not what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
My fault. Go ahead.
No, you're good. No, go ahead. You go ahead, Steele. Go ahead and run with that.
Oh, but no, I mean, just like my feelings overall on Starfield, this far, it definitely was unexpected, unanticipated, and I don't know. I keep leading the conversation with I'm not the Bethesda dude like you, PTK. The closest comparison that I could draw to is Elder Scrolls Online, and for this game to have grasped me to the level that in a way that the same way that I felt when I played Mass Effect, is really unique in that aspect. And I got over 70 hours in the game, and I've only done 3 story missions. Maybe I think I got my second relic, or whichever the case. But again, I'm not that far into the game, quote unquote. But people keep telling me that the game just only gets good from about 20 to 30 hours in. I mean, it's not my experience, but enough people have said this to where I gotta kind of believe.
I'm wondering what game they
believable.
play, though.
I mean, but I wondered that very same thing. But there's also other games to where, like Cyberpunk, for an example. I used this example this morning. Pong had the Magical Series X, and I had the very small issues on PC. And that's when I had a 2070 Super. And there was Cyberpunk had a lot of issues in the beginning that people were reporting on, and we didn't have those things. So it's like I have to accept that there's enough people saying this, and it's not just our community that said this. Other people are saying that it's slow and it doesn't feel. But then I also have the Bethesda fans. There's like a mix of them that are saying that same thing, but there's also another mix that are like, oh yeah, this is kind of what we expected. Like I have Pong telling me, yeah, this is kind of in line, except for some early things that could have been a turn off. But again, you get past those things and things ramp back up. But yeah, it's really interesting to see how this game is played out, and especially how it's touching the hearts of so many in the community.
So answer the question, Steele. Is it your game of the year?
Game of the year?
I can't say that. I haven't beat the game yet.
Okay.
So what's your game of the year right now? Armored Core 6?
Armored Core 6, yeah.
Okay. So okay. Pending game of the year, right? So we'll see once he finishes the game. Maybe we'll see, right? So I don't want to put too much pressure on you still. This is recorded, so they can always run that back.
It's all good.
They can always run that back. We don't want to make sure we don't leave anything behind. But no, so we're gonna throw this over to Pong. Obviously, Pong. I don't really think too much needs to be said, but brother, this is we're knee deep in this, and this is a unique experience, and just kind of obviously, I think Chad understands for you where this game sits at. You've already kind of stated that. But go ahead.
I made that clear. Yeah, of course it is. We went from Diablo to started off the year with Hogwarts, right? And Hogwarts was absolutely an incredible experience, one that caught me off guard with how good it was. I was excited for the game. I obviously picked it up day one, which again, as a budget gamer, I don't pick up every game day one. But I picked up Hogwarts and started there and loved my experience in Hogwarts. Want to get back to it at some point, as I do a lot of games. But I loved Hogwarts. I thought it was simply just a fantastic vision of that world. And then we got to Diablo 4. And obviously Diablo 4 through the beta and then up to a launch was my game of the year. And it remained so until Baldur's Gate 3. And then that was another game that I had been paying attention to. I hadn't gotten a PC until later this summer, and that's when I really started thinking about Baldur's Gate 3, and decided to pop that day one as well, even though I knew Starfield was coming, and because I had I jumped in early access by a few weeks to try it out. Absolutely fell in love with Baldur's Gate 3 as an old D&D fan, as an old Neverwinter Night guy, as an old Baldur's Gate guy. Like, legitimately, what Larian did is nothing short of magical. And so absolutely fell in love with Baldur's Gate 3. But you know how long I've been waiting on Starfield.
Yeah.
Anybody who's listened to any podcast over the past couple of years knows how long I've been waiting on Starfield. It's my most anticipated game. This and Cyberpunk were probably my two most anticipated games, probably in the past decade, maybe even longer. It was unbelievable to finally get this dropped in our laps. And yeah, it's exceeded my expectations. Again, not a perfect game, but by far, right now, my game of the year for sure. There's no question about it because it is a Bethesda game through and through. It is why I love Bethesda, why they are my favorite developer, why Elder Scrolls Online is my favorite franchise of all time. They've got it all in this. There's things I could sit here and talk about that I wish were there that aren't there, but that doesn't take away from my experience personally. And so, yeah, this is my game of the year on its way to game of the gen for sure, and probably my all-time favorite, which again is saying more than anything because I am more of a high fantasy guy.
Yeah.
Sci-fi is a
Same.
second,
Same.
is a close second for me.
Mhm.
Sci-fi is right, there, but high fantasy always has a special place for me. So for this to beat out Oblivion and Skyrim, which are 1A and 1B, was probably something I would not have guessed at the end that would happen. But right now, the way it's going, absolutely 70 plus hours in, haven't touched the main mission, 60 plus hours, I should say. I think I'm around 70, but realistically 60 plus. Haven't touched the main mission outside of meeting Constellation. I'm getting to live out my pirate fantasy now, my space pirate fantasy right now. Got my ship built up, having a great time raiding people. People who say there's not anything to do in space. I gotta disagree with you wholeheartedly in that, as somebody who this week has spent a ton of time in space and not on land. There is limitless stuff to do in space that I come across at all times, and it's not getting old for me. So this is definitely my game of the year.
Yeah, no, I listen. It's something that you really got to experience. And once again, and we understand here, chat, that everybody's experience is going to be a little bit different. And none of us are that naive to expect everybody to feel the same way about this game. But it really does transcend everything I could have thought or wanted. And like you said, Pong, I'm the same. You know me, Pong. With the high fantasy, we're the same. We R.A. Salvatore, we're the same when it comes to D&D. You know how I feel about that world. I don't do the tabletop. I'm not going to sit up here and lie, chat. I don't do the tabletop stuff, but I love that world. And to me, like you said, that's my world. And sci-fi probably would be a close second as well to me. And for this to have me feeling the way I feel about this game, it is amazing. So shout out to everybody who went around the panel. Shout out to everybody who participated in the poll of the week. Once again, I put that up every single Monday on my X account. Follow me there. All of that's in the description. But we're going to roll right in. That's a perfect segue into Starfield. Once again, if you didn't know, that's why we're here. We're talking about it again this week, and it continues to just marinate, chat. Like, it continues to just like seep its way into culture, just into gaming, and more and more people get a chance to play it. It's still currently right now, I believe, hitting records on Steam. Seemingly every hour it goes up a little bit, so we're seeing great success there, even with the Game Pass effect, quote unquote, right? Cannibalizing, they say, sales and things like that. Is still doing things that Bethesda's never experienced, breaking all kinds of records and things like that. So I want to start with you, Pixelbit, just on the impact of Starfield and what does this really mean for like Bethesda going forward. Obviously, this, if you're not a fan of Bethesda, you don't really know why Bethesda gets the praise it gets and people feel the way it feel. I think looking at Starfield will probably allow you to give you a great example as to why.
Considering how good like Skyrim was, and Oblivion before that, as well as like Fallout 3, and the reception of Fallout 4, I'd be kind of surprised if anybody didn't know who Bethesda was coming into this, right?
Yeah,
they kind of had a backstep with Fallout 76, but people who understand the studio understand that was not the main team, right? So coming into the lead up of this, most of us knew, coming from the main team, that we expected a certain level of quality, right? So at the very least, we expected to get something that felt like Skyrim. At least I did. And then, for it to come out and for it to be like, for me, it's closer to Oblivion in terms of the deepness, the depth of the RPG mechanics in the game. While still having that big expansive world, and then like all these other systems and trying to twine together, and then they all work together in such a way. I think it's just like it kind of elevates the studio as far as I'm concerned, right? So like the reception is great. Like you see people playing it, like Steam is blowing up with it. We got the numbers for game not Game Pass, but just Xbox ecosystem in general, hitting like 6 million players day one, right? So like it basically just reestablishes them as like one of the major studios for RPGs. And I think because of that reception, we're going to see just a lot more people getting involved in this game, because it's just getting started, right? As word of mouth grows, more people are going to want to play it, right? And then they already have a big roadmap for this game. They have you still got the modding community that hasn't even come on board yet, and you're already starting to see them doing like miniature mods, like injection mods into this game, right? Which means that there's a community forming around this game already. So it's impressive, but it just kind of reestablishes them as one of the biggest RPG makers out there, period.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And I think and shout out to Pong on this one. And I've been tooting Pong's horn for the last 2 weeks, goddamn it, about this. And like this is what you said, like this is what people, you got to remind people, right? And this is one of those reminders. I don't care how you feel, this is the impact. You can definitely feel the energy from the release of Starfield. It doesn't matter how you actually feel about the game. It's what everybody's talking about and what has been everybody's talking about probably for the last at least month or so. And you got to understand that energy. You got to feel that no matter how you feel about the game.
Correct. 100%. Bethesda releases are a special moment. No matter what it does, like I said, Starfield was going to be a black hole, and that's exactly what it is. The good, the bad, and everything in between gets sucked into the conversation around Starfield, because these are games that don't come around often from this team, and when they do, it's like a holiday. It's like a celebration. Again, you're gonna always have your detractors. You're gonna always have your haters. You're gonna have the people who don't like Bethesda, don't like Todd, don't like the direction that they went in, blame them for Fallout 76. You've got all that wrapped up in this, along with the people like us who are absolutely in love with it. It's part of it. It's always been a part of it. It always will be. There's always been discourse around Bethesda games. There's a large group of gamers out there who always think that every Bethesda game, even the greats, are all overrated, and that Bethesda has always been overrated. So you've got all that, and they show up, and it's like a volcano, right? It's been a long time. It's been simmering and simmering and simmering, and like I said, you think this is bad, wait about 5 years from now when Elder Scrolls 6 gets close. You think this is a brand new IP that nobody has history with. Just wait until Elder Scrolls 6 starts rolling around. That's going to open up the
salt mine.
Oh my God, bro! It's just gonna be unbelievable.
It's gonna be a bloodbath.
Yeah, I didn't mean to take over their PTK, but yeah, no, this is it's definitely a special moment in time, and you can see why this is what it does. And now that I'm a part of a community, because I've never been a part of a community, like I've said previously, around one of these launches, right, like this. Now I get to witness all that energy in one spot, and it's been pretty insane to actually see how people react to this. So this is what it does, but everybody's talking about it, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. So again, people, if it was a terrible game, if it was a game that nobody cared about, nobody'd be talking about it still, but everybody's still talking about it. So that shows you right there the power.
Man, and shout out to we got our last guest sliding through. What's up, Umber, coming through here? How you doing, brother?
Wakey time, Umbra. It's so nice of you to join us.
I was put to sleep by Pong drone.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know.
So I want to make sure there's enough room for the egos. I just want to make sure we got enough room.
Well, then you're gonna have to move him up to the top row, please. Get him away from me.
Oh my goodness.
Listen, terrible. We're making spaceships in Starfield with both of us. Our egos will float us all into that. No, I'm good, man. And thank you guys for having me.
Oh, obviously, man. If you want to just pick up, kind of, I don't know if you picked up on where we're at as far as just we're kind of getting into. We had the poll of the week, obviously. Shout out to everybody who participated in that, but we just kind of dove into Starfield and just kind of the impact it's had. Literally, like it's been like an asteroid level impact on the industry and the ripple effect, good or bad. You take the good with the bad. Obviously, anytime a release this big, there's going to be all kinds of discourse, but my biggest thing, Umbra, is I don't want people to forget what we're experiencing right now, because we don't get this that often. People won't, as much as people won't admit it, this doesn't happen that often. We don't get a game that drops that's really an event like this. We get a lot of big games, but they don't feel like this that often. So I want to make sure, we highlight that. But just where you at on the impact, and I know you got a ton of hours in it, and ultimately, where are you at?
A ton of hours is an understatement. Last I looked, I was on 100 and maybe 5 hours in. And yeah, I was 70 hours in like a day ago. So Like it's blowing past.
That's not mathematically possible, sir.
Well, hey, listen,
Your Umbra
I
can go
squeeze it
hard,
out.
son.
I squeeze it out of there.
a time chamber
Pause.
playing Starfield.
Pause, my dude.
Listen, we going through
Jesus.
grab drives and live.
Umbra's ego slows down time for him. This is great. Let's go.
No, like because I have the ROG Ally, so I get a chance to play even away from home. So that's what I've been doing. I've had the great experience and chance of playing both here on the console and away from home. So I have right now, I'm looking at it, 5 days, 9 hours and 51 minutes in this game. And man, I tell you, it's like I think that's a testament in general to how much this game has impacted us, the time we've all put into it. Because while I've put in a ton of time, I'm not alone. Like other people have put in crazy amounts of hours. So it's amazing. I think Pong, although he was bloviating, he did make some really good points as far as how this game does so well. Like people are going to talk about it anyway. Like I hear you on that PTK. Like we don't want to forget this. I don't think we can, because we got our hooligans out here.
Oh, here
who made sure we won't forget it. So I think, outside of them mocking it and making it even bigger for everybody, even though they're playing it as they complain, this is one of those things we were talking about with the zeitgeist. You know what I mean? This is one of those games that, it's not known. It's not a known thing, but now it is. It's going to be something that's a known quantity going forward.
Yeah.
As far as IP goes. And I think it's so much they did right with this. And that's why I get bothered by like, the detractors who, the menu, over encumbrance.
Crazy, man.
It's like, that's what you focus on. Like, maybe it's because I'm a
don't get me started, son.
You already know, Pixel.
Don't get me started.
To me, it's annoying to hear it, and I get it, because some of these people, they are new to Bethesda games. Maybe that's the problem. See, for us who have played them, we know how the over encumbrance typically works in those games. And
I've never really dove into a Bethesda game, and I know how it works, and it's usually terrible. It's usually a horrible mechanic. This isn't anything to the degree that I've experienced encumbrance in other games. Like encumbrance is usually I can't fucking walk. Like I can't move. You know what I mean? Like I'm walking like a turtle. Like I can still sprint. I can do a lot of stuff in this game when encumbrance.
And speaking of that, this is why I think it's overblown. Like I get people's complaints, but we have to kind of bring it to reality a bit.
I don't even get the complaints. Honest to God, I don't get it.
I get it because they'll complain like, my oxygen it's hurting my energy. Like I get it, right?
It's an RPG asking you to play an RPG, right? It's literally asking you to play an RPG. It has systems.
Exactly.
It has systems that work against encumbrance. Like if you want to increase your lung capacity, you have to run encumbered.
That's right.
Like that's a thing, right?
Even for your ship, build up, and you also have to build up your skill. You have to build up the
You have to build up this skill. You have to use the skill to build up the skill. So it's like, if you've never played an RPG, absolutely, I understand.
But that's the
but
problem.
If you just came from from Baldur's Gate and Diablo, which both have encumbrances, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem. That's a problem too, Umbra. And I'm not jumping on you here, Umbra. I just was going to add to what you were saying, because you brought up a good point about people who may have not played a Bethesda game, right, or may not have the most experience in RPGs. But the thing I'm seeing, and the most frustrating thing, and I've had conversations with Steel about this and other people about this too, is we got people out here that I know have been playing games for decades, that I know have played RPGs, that I know are Bethesda fans, who are acting like they are shocked and overwhelmed by this game. And that's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. It's like everybody got brainwashed on much easier games, much more linear narrative type games. Like they never branch out anymore, and they just wait around for a Bethesda game to jump into, and it's been almost 10 years, and they're like, oh my God, what's this encumbrance? Oh my God, what's this loading screen thing? Holy cow, this is like 1990 all over again. Like that's been the weirdest thing that I've been seeing out here, that I'm like,
make
what?
A Bethesda game, Bethesda? How dare you?
Yes.
Oh, how dare you?
How dare you make a Bethesda game? Right.
Right.
And like I try to bring it down to people, to reality. And this thing is like, even if you go past the thought of RPGs RPGing, right? the thought
Yes.
that the thing is, I try to bring people to a bit of reality. Like Starfield is supposed to be kind of a hard fiction. It's supposed to be kind of grounded in some ways. Yeah, and any RPG is going to have encumbrance. Any good one, at least, any main like AAA type is typically going to have that. Particularly lugging around thousands of pounds that I think people kind of ignore. Like, yeah,
I think it's
at first I was
Minecraft or
grabbing
something,
everything
man.
too. Yeah, exactly. And I was grabbing everything too until I realized, oh yeah, I don't need that candle or that damn, I don't know, X, whatever I picked up, or fire extinguisher. I picked up everything. Believe me when I tell you this. I didn't even get off the first planet until about 6 hours in. I'm not joking. So, and because I was too busy grabbing everything, and I think that's part of the problem is that we're greedy as gamers, and we want everything, and we want everything our way. So we're like, I want to carry everything. Let me carry the ship too. It's like, no, you can't do that.
It's a game within the game. As I explained this morning, and if you've played RPGs, even JRPGs back in the day, inventory management has always been a thing with RPGs, right? And it's always, for those of us that are hoarders, like you're talking about, Infinite, for those of us that are like that, that's always been a kind of mini game within the actual main game of trying to decide what we're actually willing to give up or how we're going to make it work. That's why there are tips and tricks. I made a post on X about this because I wanted to remind everybody some of the tricks. I have 2 dead bodies on board my ship because I took on passengers in a taxi mission and they had an accident. Okay, they had an accident. They were annoying and they had an accident. They are now permanently a part of my ship. No matter how many times I transfer ships, they're there. I can use those 2. They're 135 more cargo capacity per body. And I tweeted that and people's minds were blowing, right? People's minds were blowing. Those are the tips and tricks though. That's the game within the game. Sorry. I think that's a funny conversation.
I love it.
Yeah.
See, that's a man who's actually RPGing in an RPG.
Thinking on his feet, man. That's what I call Pong. Thinking on his feet for sure. But I want to make sure Game Positive gets in on this too, man. Once again, I know we talked about this pregame too, brother, and I know you got a ton of hours in the game. We all been sitting here chopping it up about how special an experience Starfield is. And the crazy thing, and I want to point out too, that I don't think anybody's highlighted how unique all of our individual games are, right? All of our playthroughs are, right? Like nothing is happening the exact same way. For like 6 million people to say that's kind of crazy, right? Like, like put that in perspective, right? Nobody's having the same experience. None of us are. Like, you know, like how
and that's
how
the
many
beauty
games,
of having a dynamic system, right?
exactly.
That
How many
people were trying to boo-hoo initially, but go ahead.
how many games can you even like that's crazy to me. You know what I mean? That's next gen to me. Like I know people talk about next gen graphics and processing and like that shit is next gen to me. Like that being a real thing is crazy. Like that's an insane concept to me. But go ahead, put Game Positive.
Yeah, just to piggyback off that, I know Pong mentioned that he was doing like the space pirate thing, and like I like my favorite quest line in Morrowind was the Imperial Legion quest line, and so I joined up with like UC Vanguard, and like my playthrough is probably completely different. To Pong, like my loadouts are probably different. Like everything I've experienced is completely different, and we both have like double-digit hours, which is like pretty wild because a lot of the game, if you look at games like that are winning Game of the Year, for example, like everybody charts the same path on their way through that game. And there's definitely something to be said about that for sure. In terms of like the impact that Starfield's having, I think it's huge. I think it's the biggest release that Xbox has had since like Halo 2 or Halo 3. In terms of like actual volume, which is a bit skewed because there's like way more gamers now than there was in 2004. But Starfield is definitely the biggest. I think Halo, like, the thing that was awesome about Halo 2 is how far apart it was from everything else. I mean, Starfield has some awesome games that released around it, like Baldur's Gate and stuff like that. So I don't know if it separates itself as much as Halo 2 did way back in the day, which is also not really a fair comparison. But it's a massive release for Xbox, and hopefully it's like starting to get the ball rolling, and all these acquisitions are starting to pay off because it doesn't get talked about enough, I don't think, anyway, at least in my circles. But I think it's pretty bad that Xbox hasn't had a Game of the Year nomination since the Game Awards inception, unless you count Deathloop, which was a PlayStation exclusive when it was nominated, which I think is kind of I don't really count that as much. And I mean, there's been some crazy snubs that have happened, so I don't want to knock on wood before I like confirm it's going to be, but I think this has definitely the best chance of getting nominated for Game of the Year at the Game Awards. And I think that in and of itself is a huge hurdle for Xbox to overcome. I also want to touch quickly on the fact that I think it's kind of reassurance for all of the Bethesda fans out there, because a lot of people like the last game they released, right, is like Fallout 76. And I think if you don't play Fallout 76, or you just kind of like follow the media kind of reporting on that game, like everybody kind of views that as this like weird failure or whatnot. But Fallout 76 is like an awesome game, and there's hundreds of thousands of people that play that game every day. It has 50,000 mostly positive reviews on Steam, which is like insane. Like that's not common for games to have that many reviews and that many of them be positive. And there's this diehard community of Bethesda games who had to listen to like people talk about, oh, Starfield's the next Fallout 76 and this and that, and Fallout 4 wasn't as good as Fallout 3, all this shit. When really Bethesda has this hugely passionate group of gamers that have just been loving the games that they've made for so long. And Starfield, like I think it was revealed 5 years ago. The reveal trailer was 5 years old, but even before that, it had been teased and rumored. Like, so this is something that people have been waiting for a long time, and it has to be a good feeling to have to go through all those years of people just like casually like ripping on Bethesda when it's like when it has this huge community of people that love their games, and then for Starfield to come out and be so good, to so have such good sales, be such a good game, and be kind of everything that we were asking for.
And more. That's crazy. Like, I mean, there's some diehard Bethesda fans. Like Pong is probably the most diehard Bethesda fan I've ever met. I'm sure there's maybe even more diehard Bethesda fans, but that means to me, and I value Pong's, I value his opinion very highly, and for his expectations to be exceeded, essentially, that speaks volumes to me. And for me to get roped into a game, I don't really do single player games all that much. You guys know me, Pong. I play a lot of co-op multiplayer stuff. That's me. That's where I'm at. I do Division, Destiny. That's why I enjoy those games, because I can play with friends and we can do all the same stuff. This is the first single player experience I've been roped into in a very long time. And I mean, I'm in there. I'm really into the story, everything that's going on. I've never, ever played a game that roped me in the way this has. And it's super duper unique. So, and still, I want to make sure we get you in here too, man. I know you've heard us talk about everybody's experience is different with this game, how unique it is, but just kind of where you at on the impact of Starfield going forward, like for Bethesda. I mean, we understand you got to take the good with the bad, right? Still, but ultimately, like, what does this mean for Bethesda going forward?
Man, it means they got to fix the first 20-30 hours of a game, because everybody finds it boring.
Stop. We already did Living Split Screen this morning.
I guess that's the first start, right? I mean, I didn't personally feel that, but maybe I'm in the very minor amount of people. But no, as far as the history of Starfield, it's going to be really interesting to see, because personally, I don't know how I'm going to feel at the end of this game. From some of the things that I've seen for the end and New Game Plus and things of that nature, some of it is appealing, some of it is not. And typically, if I'm going to take this adventure and take advantage of it as much as possible, meaning as I do in any game that I played, I just play the game for whatever it gives me. I may not end up continuing to play it after that. So seeing how mods and everything roll into it, and how other people's experiences are going to be with it, and how that kind of evolves over time, is going to be the interesting thing for me. Because I mean, right now, a lot of the conversation is leaning more towards the side of, oh, this game didn't meet expectation, quote unquote. And again, everybody's expectation is going to be their own, but this game was overhyped. It needed to be all these things. And again, this isn't the only game, which is why I made the Halo tease earlier, because and Starfield is not in a Halo situation, and I want to make that clear. It's in a much better situation than that game is, because what Bethesda did is do exactly what they've been doing, except, at least for me, have made it more accessible to the point. And again, for you guys to say it kind of reminds you of Oblivion, is Pong is being one of the main ones that gave me that. And I've heard others say that too. ACG made that mention too. Mr. Matty Plays made some mentions of that too.
I'll make a mention of it too. Oblivion
and
on my Mount Rushmore.
So for you guys to make the reference to Oblivion and everything that I've heard from Oblivion, because again, I am the Bethesda noob. I'm not that dude. I don't I've put 10 hours into Skyrim 3 times, and neither one of those 10 times, because of what I was trying to make the gameplay, play it in third person, have advanced combat mechanics. I've had 300 plus mods in the game. I was trying to play it in a way that was going to be extremely tailored to me. And it was frustrating that I still, even through all that, I couldn't get it to play the way I wanted. And which is one of the biggest reasons why this game is impressive to me, because one of the biggest complaints I had about not only Skyrim, but also Fallout 4, which is another one that I downloaded a bunch of mods for, jumped in, played for 10 hours, and I was like, this is all right, but I want to play this game in third person, not first. And I am the dude, if Starfield only had first person, I would not have played it. To this day, it wouldn't have mattered who said it was great. It could have been a 99 rated game. I would have not played it because that's just my personal preference. And it's very rare that sort of certain games that'll pull me in, like Cyberpunk. It's a very rare first person game that gets me into that experience, but that experience is also very different. I think CD Projekt Red did well crafting that. But back to Bethesda and how it's put its hooks in me in ways that I wasn't expecting as someone who is that Bethesda casual. All the complaints that either the hardcore are making or maybe people who are newer to this are making, I personally don't feel. And maybe it's because I'm confident in myself or who I am as a gamer, what I'm looking for in my experiences. But from the first 2 hours, the first hour of the game, I was hooked in. That intro sequence, once you touch that relic, maybe I'm a square, but touching that relic did something for me. Like, oh, wow, this game's about to be crazy. What is this? And then it kind of progressed from there. And then you have your first engagement and you get into that conversation and then people come down and it's just like, and then boom, you're in space and you're fighting folks. And then boom, you're in New Atlantis and you're taking that experience in also. And they're just hitting you from every side. And again, for me, Starfield is a special game in many ways. I can't say that it's like this is the greatest game ever because I do have issues with it. The AI is super inconsistent. But these are the conversations that I want to have about the game are deeper than, oh, I feel like Bethesda needs to change their game mechanics because these game mechanics feel old. I don't see that, at least for me personally. I think people were trying to, I don't know, Last of Us feel us to death. I don't know what people were wanting from another Bethesda game. Maybe they overhyped it for themselves and thought that, oh, all of a sudden it's going to be No Man's Starfield Citizen. And that's never what they pitched. So I don't know. It's a long-winded way to say Starfield is an impressive game to me. I'm enjoying everything that I've gotten from it so far. Again, I'm over 70 hours in, and yeah, man, that's kind of my take on it so far.
Awesome, man. And once again, the cool thing about it ultimately is that, we're all having different experiences with this game. And that's the one thing that's unique to Starfield that we can't really say about any other title. It's giving us a little bit of everything. And it's very unique. It's not often that we get a game that everybody unanimously agrees like that is the biggest game we probably ever played, the most complex game we've ever played. And at the same time, people are picking a game apart, for all of these small things that other games don't even offer. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of crazy. You know what I mean? So it's a bit of a weird dynamic when you see that. You know what I mean?
What I tell you could happen, PTK, right? When we talked about our review scores and we were doing predictions on the review scores, and I had predicted a 93, but during that conversation, I said, but I wouldn't be surprised if it hit high 80s, right? And I said because of the simple fact is because this game does so much in so many different directions, right? That it gives reviewers and people more opportunity to find things that may not be their favorite part of the game. And we're a much more focused game, a much more singular kind of narrative-driven game, even some open world games that don't give you as many toys in the sandbox as a Starfield. It's much easier for reviewers to say, no, they did a great job with this. Loved what I played out of this. Start to finish, it was great. 9, 10, whatever. Very easy to do that when you've got a game like that. When you got a game like this, and people can say, "Well, this is really great. I really love this what they did here, but this over here, I'm just not enjoying this. And this over here is okay, but it's not my favorite." The score's already dropping in their head, even though maybe that one part is really, really great and it's one of the best that they've ever played. These other parts could detract from it, and that's what I always knew was the risk, especially nowadays in 2023, with how reviewers are and what they look at, and again, the types of games that I see these reviewers giving high scores to. A lot of times, it's a different environment that Bethesda is in now, and so I knew that this was potential, that we could have a bunch of people picking it apart, turning it over and over again, just looking at every little aspect and saying, well, this isn't great, oh man, they should have done this differently, blah blah blah, and just slowly chipping away at their maybe what whereas their initial great thoughts, or what maybe they eventually found in the main quest, or maybe some of the side missions or the faction quests. All of that, is already kind of torn down by some of the other parts that they might not like. So we kind of saw this coming a little bit, where we're at right now.
Yeah, no, definitely. There was some expectations there too. You're absolutely right. Right about that, Chad. So, it's crazy. You know what I mean? But the discourse it only happens with game of the generation type games, right? Like this is the only time we get this random. Well, I won't say only time, because there's part of that has to do with the company that's a part of as well too. But we don't want to go too far left here, but now we go
no, and real quick too, PTK, on Steele's point about the accessibility and him coming from a Bethesda noob perspective, and you as well, shout out to Caitlin doesn't play these types of games ever, right? And she doesn't play these games at all, and again, some people would think, oh, well, she's part of the Fun Spec fam, with Mav. She probably, is just jumping in the game because everybody's talking about it. No, she didn't do that with Diablo, right? She didn't do that. She knows herself. She knows who she is as a gamer. And she took a chance in Starfield. And, she found now things that she absolutely loves about this game. That's the exciting part, is the people that are getting to try a Bethesda title, a brand new Bethesda title, right out of the box from day one, and discover that, hey, this dev team, they do something special that maybe I wouldn't normally look at a game like this, but this one really does hit me differently. And I think that that's one of the coolest parts, and one of the parts I always highlighted that I was excited for was a generation of people who didn't get to experience necessarily a Bethesda title on launch. Maybe they picked up Fallout, or maybe they picked up Skyrim or whatever, but they never got to experience it on launch. And this being a brand new IP, I thought this was a different kind of time to be able to do that. And I'm seeing people like that are now saying, no, this is not a game I normally would play, but I'm loving this. And there's so many different parts to that sandbox, that just what I was talking about, the reviewers and how they can find different things to nitpick apart. People can find different things in this game, even if they're not fully in love with all parts of an RPG like this. They can find different parts that maybe they really do enjoy, like shipbuilding or base building or just space exploration or whatever. And I think that that's also pretty unique to a Bethesda title and what they gave us in Starfield here specifically.
Yeah, and I want to ask everybody in the panel here real quick, because I think this is important. This is a huge aspect of like what Starfield means, and why I think a lot of us feel the way we feel about it. I kind of want to ask what was everybody's like eureka moment with Starfield, like, oh, like this shit is actually crazy moment, like, wow, this is like I'm actually so. I will go around the panel here. We'll start with you, Pixel Bit. Did you have a like kind of a oh shit moment?
I mean, the games is kind of what I would expect from Bethesda, right? Based on playing the other games, right? It's kind of a amalgamation of other games for me. So, but like a dope moment for me is just like taking over a ship, right? Like getting into a dogfight and then being able to target systems and like take over a ship. And it's like, oh, okay, I just take this and I can sell it, use it, and then the income that's related to it, right? So, a lot of my play time is being like just sidetracked because there's just so many things that you could do. Like there's so many systems to play with, right? Yeah. Like and like it's probably the most that I've ever seen from them. in terms of just the sheer number of systems that are available in the game. So I guess like just the sheer vastness of it is like, oh, okay, you know, like I know I'm gonna be spending a lot of time in this. Like I'm looking forward to Game Plus at this point. Right. But I don't want to rush through my first run. But I know like this is one of those games that I'll just continue to play over time. So
I think for me personally, it's just the attention to detail to everything, right? Like you said, the complexity of the different systems, how everything works together, how the perks actually work. You got like you said, the encumbrance issue that people are saying they're having. There's a built-in solution to that, right? Exactly. There's a built-in solution besides just like gear and, you know, being able to level up your character. There's like other things you can do to help with that. You know what I mean? Inventory. There's other ways to go about. There's unique things people are doing.
Speaking of PTK, sorry to cut in, but
you're good.
I don't know if you all knew this, but if you're about 250 meters away from your ship, you can send stuff from your inventory to the ship.
Yeah.
By pausing it and going to your ship. Yep. Yeah. So that's another solution just to throw it out there.
Yeah, but these are things that you find when you get into the game. You know what I mean? Like these are things you find.
There are interconnected systems here, right? There's if you bother to get into like the base building part of it, right? There's a part where you can transfer materials across the different systems.
Yeah,
right.
You can set up trade routes.
Like, that's all. Yeah, exactly. Trade routes from your bases and everything.
That's an achievement.
Yeah. So you have to like as you're playing it, like it's like an onion, and it just keeps unraveling more things. Like, oh, okay, so there's a system for this, there's a system for that, right? And you kind of get to choose. Like somebody had said earlier, you get to choose the game that you want to make it, right? If you want to make it into just an action game and just focus on, you know, bounty hunting or whatever, you could do that. You know what I'm saying? But if you want to get into like the shipping and the finances of the game world, you could do that. So like for my kids, I'm just like setting them up on a moon and just letting them farm, and they can just chill and just farm and not get involved with the role playing stuff because that's not for them. You know what I'm saying? So it's like and I guess, you know, it could be a victim of having so many systems, but like for me, you know, as a longtime gamer and developer, it's like, yo, I marvel at what they've done with this. It's just wow, yeah.
And it's so accessible too. It's not like it feels super complex, right? Like it really is, but it doesn't feel that way. Even me being new to Bethesda games, I still was able to get into it. Like even something as small as like the lockpick system with the digipicks and stuff. Like I think that is so intuitive. Like once you understand how it works,
it's very
so intuitive.
System.
It's a logical system, right? Yep. Like it's so like ABC and it makes sense, but it's so intuitive and it's so ingenious that like I would never think of doing something or creating that kind of system with the locks. But it's such a small thing. But I'm gonna go ahead and pass the baton here. We'll throw it over to you, Game Positive. Like, what was your like without any spoilers, by the way, chat? I saw you guys chat. We want to make sure we keep this thing spoiler free if we can. What was your aha moment?
I would say just like in general, I was like super impressed by how much Starfield kind of levels up what I would consider to be like faults of past Bethesda games. The characters are awesome. The dialogue is awesome. The combat feels really fun. But as far as one specific moment that really kind of blew my mind, and I won't say anything about it or spoil it, but the first mission in the UC Vanguard campaign, the game just like changes to a different game, and it was so unexpected and so amazing. And I don't know if there's going to be other missions that kind of flip the game on its head as much as that one did. I assume there will be, but that kind of just, I had expectations of what like the questing would be like. I felt I'd like go here, like clean out this dungeon and then pick up this item at the end, like kind of the typical stuff. But once I played that, which was very early, it was like one of the first things I did. I was just like, okay, there is some insane depth to the gameplay and the quest design here, and I just can't wait to explore that. If I had to point to one early moment, that would be 100% recommend, by the way, doing the UC Vanguard quest line. It's so good.
On a side note, there's something extra involved. There's like a Easter egg earlier on that's related to that mission in case you haven't seen it yet. Yeah.
I don't think I have. No. It's worth noting too, just as a quick aside for anyone who hasn't played yet or is like really early on. The first thing that you do in the UC Vanguard is like you sign up at like this museum in the first city, and the museum kind of explains all the lore of the game. And 100% recommend checking that out. Even if you don't plan on being a space cop, just go to the museum on the first city that you end up in, and it will explain a lot of awesome lore and details for the universe. So 100% recommend that, just as an aside. But yeah, dude, that if any of you guys have played it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But that first UC Vanguard mission is fucking fire.
Speaking of that museum, by the way, I had went to that after I went to the Soul Star System, if you know what I mean, and came to visit places. I don't want to say anything, you know, but then I saw that, I was like, oh, that's why.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where people are like, just like when this happened, or like this thing that happened, and I'm just like, okay, I guess I should know that somehow for some reason, but I don't. And then PTK, all the light bulbs.
To PTK's point about attention to detail, there's another museum in New Atlantis that stores like the relics of that era, knowledge and relics of that war that you can't get to, at least at my level, you can't get into yet. But there is another museum, so they have like all this extra world detail built into the game that like you need to seek out. It's like, yo, it's crazy.
The environmental storytelling is insane, bro. Like that level of environment. I've never seen a game with this level of environment. Just walking around, like the signs, like those matter, like you know what I mean. Like all of that stuff, you got to pay attention to. The level of detail is just nothing I've ever experienced in a video game. But Umbra, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you mean to tell me the creation engine isn't ugly?
You
mean everything you've run into
definitely not UE5, right, Umbra?
It's funny because I did wish that was Unreal Engine 5. I was like, man, I sure wish they'd have did that. But I'm gonna tell you, that leads into the point I was just about to make. Who would have thought this game would be this beautiful with this damn creation engine?
Creation engine, right? They said it wasn't. I remember people talking about this. Oh, it's not gonna be that big of a difference.
I remember
like, they're not really. It's not. It's just a 1.5. This isn't really a new engine. Like Pong, I don't know. You remember that, Pong?
Of course, man. Nobody has faith. Again, they all forget who Bethesda is. Again, is the creation engine perfect? No. Is it perfect for what Bethesda does in their games? Obviously it is. Look at the games of the year. Look at the people that claim their games are games of the generation. Obviously, it works for them. So again, you can nitpick it, you can tear it apart, you can say it's awful, whatever the case may be. It works for that team and allows them to create this magic. I don't care what it is. Keep doing it. That's all I care about. So yeah, a lot of people didn't believe, but again, it's not always pretty in this game. There are definitely parts where I'm like, yeah, we could have done a little bit better there. But my God, the photo mode and the screenshots I'm getting in space, especially, and on some of these planets with that global illumination, just spectacular. And you can see all the work that they did. They actually have an engineer team now that works on the engine only. People don't know this, but prior to Starfield, the devs themselves were part-time creation engine engineers. They would work on the engine themselves. They didn't have anybody. Now they've got their own team to do this big upgrade that they did to 2.0, and you can tell for sure.
Well, what people told me is that you can't tell.
Right. Keep listening to those people still.
There's no way that makes sense.
No, absolutely not.
It looks like the same game.
Oh my goodness.
But I was going to say though, that Pong, before he again, just stole my points and just talked over me. I'm messing.
I know you didn't know what to say further, and I just filled in your spot. So you're welcome. You're welcome.
Yes. We'll go with that. No, but no, seriously, the beauty of the game is if we want to talk about wow moments. When I have actually, if you go on my Twitter, you'll see some of the images I shared, and one of them is just me looking out into this star that's shining down on this planet, right? And I'm just that moment right there, and many other moments. I'm just sitting there like damn, like I'm an artist, right? I can draw. So I am, and I'm not saying that's unique to me. So
boy,
I had to throw it out there. Listen.
Singer, artist, what else?
Oh my goodness!
Come on, let's go to the
list. When God favors you, He just favors you, Pong.
Oh, good Lord. PTK, I don't ever want to hear about me having an ego again, man.
Highly favored up in here.
You gotta hear me out here.
Listen. It's hard being God's chosen. It's hard.
Man.
That's all I'm trying to say.
Oh, good Lord.
No, but seriously, the moments
Everybody
I'm
move away
traveling
from their
around,
laptops.
the moments I'm moving around from planet to planet and discovering like all these different sites and seeing like the world building they did here. Like I went to Paradiso, whatever it's called. I went to that, I believe, earlier today. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about this place. And I was like, oh, that's nice. This is dope. I went to obviously New Atlantis. I went to, and you see that in different times of the day, night, and such, and it looks beautiful. I saw the sunrise on New Atlantis. I'm like, wow. And this was right after I hit up, Bay Sarah and got with her, and we were standing up there, and the sun is coming up. I'm like, oh, look at that, poetic. And all these different moments while I'm traveling around through space or whatever it may be, and you see these planets in the distance, like the Saturns and such, and or at least the big bodies that have the debris floating around it that look, similar to what we see here in our star system. And I'm just blown away by the visuals, man. And like, I was one of the people who were like, I think it would have been better if they would have gone with Unreal Engine 5, just because I wanted something that was going to really wow everybody. And Unreal Engine is a great engine. And the creation engine has had its issues over time. It is a pretty old engine. It's based off another engine. I forgot the name of it right now, but it's an old engine. So in my thought process, I'm like, man, this is not going to come out the way I want it to. It's not going to look dated. But no, it doesn't. It doesn't look dated at all. It looks I'll be honest. Even when I got to Neon City, I was like, this kind of rivals some visuals I've seen in Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk is gorgeous.
Yep.
Now, Cyberpunk is more gorgeous. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna go too crazy with it. But
yeah, please don't.
I won't go that crazy.
I've seen some of the craziness about the cities.
Yeah, it's not that crazy. Like Cyberpunk is still, still the top. But I would say you've seen some of these things here in Bethesda. If you played any of their past games, they're not known for really a super colorful palette when it comes to their games. So you see something like Neon, and you go to the Astral Lounge and stuff like that, and you see all these different colors popping and all that, and it's a contrast to other planets that's barren and things like that. And you have to commend them for the vision of giving us a kind of a grounded reality when it comes to these space exploration, rather.
Yeah.
So you coming across these different creatures, you're coming across and things like that. So my thing that I would take away that was my wow moment is just kind of not expecting to be blown away by the visuals. And I just stopped and would like take images. I was just taking images. Like I took some a while ago, rather, before I got on earlier today with you guys. And I was just kind of like, I'm noticing like, man, this game is gorgeous. And that's one of the things I like, by the way, that you can snap a photo in game, it'll show it in your when the loading screen and such.
Yeah,
it's pretty dope.
Cool detail. Yeah,
I hope they continue with that. And one of my things I said too is that I hope that all first, and if I would feel, I would have it a mandate that all first party titles have a photo mode. And I think Starfield made the case even more so for me.
Oh, dude.
Yep, absolutely.
Man, I cannot. Listen, this game is built for photo mode, man, and they did a phenomenal job with the photo mode. The options is really easy to use. It's not too convoluted. I mean, they could have made it like super duper difficult to use, but they made it pretty accessible for most people. And the pictures I've gotten, like you said, is just phenomenal, and it's built for this game, man. Like I'm so happy that they did that.
Yeah, me too. That's really my thing, my takeaway from it. I mean, I have so many other moments like one thing I'll give them credit for too is that I didn't expect the gunplay to be so solid. It's not Halo Infinite level good, but it's good. They did a good job with this. I'm really surprised by that. So
same
for them there.
That's another thing too. And I found out that I initially, and Pong had to correct me. Thank you, Pong, once again, right? Being my Bethesda filter, so I don't go too far off the rails here. Say nothing crazy, but yeah, you had to remind me that actually it didn't actually work on the gunplay. This was all Bethesda, right?
Correct.
They did it all themselves. So I thought they had help with the gunplay, Umber, but apparently that is not the case. But it
was the visuals. Yeah, that surprised me.
Yeah. Visuals and the gunplay for me is super surprising how smooth. Listen, I get the whole 30 thing. People say 30 FPS. But this is the best 30 I played in a long time. The most stable 30 I played in a while. I feel like 45 sometimes.
I agree.
And I'm playing on a console, so I don't have the ability like some of the, everybody, some of the people here on the panel with PCs do, where they can, run it up to whatever their PC can run it at. And it feels smooth. It feels light. It doesn't feel cumbersome at all. Just it's far exceeded what I expected from what I thought I knew about Bethesda, and I thought I knew about how they make video games. This is so far left field for them. Super super cool though, man. So I know we have some other things to talk about here on the show too as well. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, Pong. Where you gonna take us this week, brother?
Oh, I didn't know we were doing topics this week, man. I thought this was just a Starfield free flowing kind of conversation.
Well, I mean, we could keep it going if you'd like to. If there's something else you'd like to elaborate on too. I know I wanted to kind of piggyback off the Starfield thing anyway. Todd Howard did mention another game that might be talked about
Indiana
next
Jones.
year. So I don't know if you want to kind of segue.
Sure. I could set that. So during an interview, somebody did bring up once again Indiana Jones, and Todd is being very careful. The interviewer stated that you could tell that Todd wanted to say more, but obviously he's got PR people around him and all that stuff too. So, but they did ask him about Indiana Jones, and he reiterated yet again that he is extremely impressed by Machine Games and the work they're doing. And obviously he points out that they're very good at creating games for about killing Nazis. So it kind of goes hand in hand. He talked about, again, that this was something that he's wanted to do for a very long time. We know the backstory kind of that he pitched this multiple times to Lucas Games, and they, for whatever reason, never got it done. And then he finally got the deal. And so this is another pet project of his. And they, he smiled, and that's when they said that he could tell he wanted to say more, but he said, "We will talk to you next year." So now again, does that mean the game's coming out next year? I don't know. I don't think so. The GQ article earlier, prior to the Starfield launch, when they had been talking to him, when they visited him at Bethesda, he had made the comment that they were about halfway done with development on Indiana Jones. So I'm assuming this might be a couple years out, but it sounds like they're going to at least show it next year in some form, whether that's a reveal at like a direct and then maybe a little bit more at the showcase, or if it's just a showcase event where they kind of show it off. I don't think we'll get a deep dive because I don't think they're that close yet, according to that other comment. But yeah, guys, we've seen Starfield, and obviously different team, Machine Games, but they're part of the Bethesda family. We know their history with Wolfenstein, and what are, I guess, I'll lead with this question, and I'm going to start with our guests. So we'll start with you, Steele. Indiana Jones, what are you expecting from Indiana Jones with Machine Games, kind of behind, they're the devs on the team, but with their history, with really good gunplay. Obviously, most people consider Wolfenstein to have great level design, but this is a different type of game if you're going to do Indiana Jones. This ain't going to be a straight shooter. This ain't going to be a corridor Doom style shooter. This is going to be a little bit more involved. So what are you kind of expecting on Indiana Jones, and what do you think we'll see next year? Do you think it's going to launch next year, or do you think we just get a reveal next year? Where are you at with that, Steele?
Well, I definitely have more Todd faith since I've been enjoying Starfield here, right? So I do feel a little bit better about Indiana Jones than I previously did. I do still think, however, that Indiana Jones is past its prime. It's past its time. I don't think it's going to hit as hard as people are anticipating. And the only thing that's really going to carry it is Machine Games and their approach on it. Indy is in a really strange place, at least for me personally, because I just don't have the history with Indy. Of course, I've seen his movies, but he's never been an impactful character for me, as I know that he is for folks that are older than me, and that's no slight or anything. It's just more so a sign of the times, right?
How dare you?
Knowing that Machine Games is working on it kind of leads that it's going to be more first-person focused. I hope that it's not, because if it is, I mean, the Wolfenstein games were cool and all. I can't remember the last one that I played, but they weren't good enough for me personally to jump into. So, I mean, I hope that it's a good game. I just hope that they do go for a different perspective, not only to kind of put themselves to the test, but maybe to revitalize Indy and what he kind of means to the pop culture. So
yeah, no, great points. What do you think we see next year? Do you think we get a full reveal? Do you think we just get a teaser? Do you think they're ready?
Yeah, I think we're gonna get a gameplay trailer more than likely, something to really tease it. Because again, I think that leads more so to my point. Like, you have to sell this, right? Indy just came out. The movie just came out. Obviously, didn't do the greatest. Harrison Ford didn't seem like he was feeling the greatest in that movie either. A lot of people complained about the CGI that was used and whatnot, the way that certain things looked and how they were shot. So it's just like, you have to do something else to bring that brand power alive, because unlike Sonic, who had good movies, for an example, which is another IP that's kind of been off and on, and then they also had Sonic Frontiers that did well. I would want to see a gameplay kind of expo to show us why we should be excited for indie games.
Agreed. Great point, Steele. And again, obviously coming from the perspective that somebody who's not got that, who doesn't have that nostalgia like some of us do for indie. So it's always going to be interesting to see how people are going to react to this. Game Positive, thanks for hanging tough with us, brother. You know, for sure, 1,000%. Yeah, you're still here. That's good, man. Indiana Jones. I don't know your history with Indiana Jones. I don't know your history with Machine Games and Wolfenstein or anything like that. But where are you at as far as excitement level goes for Indiana Jones? And hearing Todd say that we'll talk to you next year, you know, where do you think we're going to see more than just the teaser? Do you think they're getting ready? You know, are you in the camp that says maybe it's ready next year to launch? How are you feeling about Indiana Jones?
In terms of like the IP Indiana Jones, like I'm lukewarm. I agree that with kind of the sentiment that like the IP is kind of old and stale at this time. But I also don't think that really matters. Like Wolfenstein as an IP was pretty stale and dry when the New Order came out. Sure. And if the game is good, the game will be good and it will sell and people will like it. Sure. In terms of Machine Games, I think they're awesome. I loved the Wolfenstein New Order. I think New Colossus is one of the best FPS campaigns. Like it's in the tier just below like the BioShocks of the world and stuff like that. They had some weird stuff happened with Youngbloods, but that was kind of a messy situation where it was half them and half Arcane Leon, and like it was when Bethesda was in their like multiplayer on everything arc.
ZeniMax was kind of calling the shots and wanted that multiplayer.
Yeah, they were just trying to stay afloat at that point and trying to and that's why they ended up getting acquired, is because they were close to the end of the line.
76.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think the talent level in Machine Games is immense. I think that what they've done with those new levels in Quake and Quake 2 remastered are amazing. Like I get that boomer shooters are not like in vogue right now, especially on console, but they just have a lot of talent there. And like I said, I think that if the game's good, which it has every right to be, like I said, they're a talented studio. It's not going to matter what people feel about the IP. There's people that were born after like the original Star Wars trilogy came out, and they're just as hyped for the new movies. Like the IPs can go dormant and come back. It just depends on if there's substance to what they come back as. If it's good, it will be good.
Agree wholeheartedly. And to that point again, Indiana Jones, I think that even if Indy isn't necessarily the biggest name as it once was, I think the idea behind Indiana Jones, the sense of adventure, obviously without Indiana Jones we don't have Lara Croft and Tomb Raider and obviously Uncharted. Drake and Uncharted, right? Yeah. So I think that the theme of Indiana Jones is kind of timeless, that sense of adventure, that treasure hunting, and if they do that and pull it off, I think that you're right. I think that that they can resurrect it. If the game's good, the game's good, and people are going to play it for that reason. So I think you're spot on with that. Pixelbit, brother, don't know your history with Indiana Jones and Machine Games, man. But obviously this has been on a lot of people's minds, especially after we all found out through the court hearings that it's for sure exclusive, right? And that there's no question about it. Obviously, that adds a layer for some people. Again, I could care less with an IP like Indiana Jones one way or the other. But obviously, being an exclusive to Xbox, it's important for their ecosystem. But where are you at? Hearing Todd say next year we'll talk to you. Does that get your blood flowing a little bit? Are you an indie fan? Do you like Machine Games? What do you think the potential outlook is when we finally do get to see this thing?
Yes, I think Game Positive is spot on with this. Like, it doesn't matter that the IP is old, because a good game will make the IP great. As far as gamers are concerned. But as an older gamer, I mean, I used to watch all the old indie movies, but I didn't watch the new one because I had no interest in it. Right, the first it's time kind of passed, right, as a character, but the concept behind the character is still dope, right? Because we have, like you said, right, you have Uncharted, which is a character based on that kind of character, right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
they could make an excellent game if they focus on the things that are important for that kind of game, right? Which for me would be, not just the action portions of it, but actually having good puzzles, which is something that we've missed in the last Uncharted, for at least as far as
Tomb Raider went away from it as well.
Tomb Raider, right?
I mean, to be honest, we just haven't had a game like a Tomb Raider-esque kind of game in a while anyway. Like that genre's kind of been absent, so we haven't even gotten that experience. To be honest, when's the last time we got that experience? You might have been
it's been a couple of years.
It might have been Tomb Raider, right?
So but even like the last Tomb Raider did have like some pretty good puzzles in it. You know what I'm saying? So there are things they can do to make a solid game out of this with that kind of with that kind of IP, right? So now as far as Machine Games goes, those two Wolfenstein games to me are legendary. Like the story, the way that they handled the story in those games, the gunplay, the action sequences, all came off really big. Like there's some really good set pieces in those games, and then like I said, the way that they handle like the enemies, right? Like having Nazis and stuff like that in those games, and the Klan in the second one, like they push some envelopes, and they've created some very memorable villains, right? I think it was Olga or something, whatever her name is, who was the main antagonist. She was a problem, and you remember her because of the way that they put her in your face, right? And even like some of the choices that they had in that game, like people don't remember, like you had to kill like one of your people, right? Like that's the path you had to choose in those games. So Machine Game has a lot of skills. I didn't play the last game because once they said it was multiplayer focused, I was like, nah, that's not for me. But if they're making like a straight up single player action game, I think they'll do a very good job of it. So in terms of when it'll show up, I think at most we would get the trailer for it next year. I think they already have like 3 or 4 games already outlined. At least 3 games, I think, outlined for next year anyway. And we probably shouldn't expect more than 3 or 4 for the entire year for big games. So probably a 2025 release kind of scenario for that. But it'll likely be a very good game for 2025 as far as I'm concerned, because they do know how to do action. Now, I would have liked to see. At least I like to have the option of it being a third-person action game instead of first-person.
I was going to mention that too. That's the big thing. I think people are wondering because they've never made a third person. So as far as I know, they've never. But once again, Playground's never made a Fable either. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying that it's a good or bad. It's just the one. It's the one unknown, right? We know that they do great action.
True.
We know that they know how to do good set pieces. We know that they know how to do a great story. The question is, can they do anything outside of first person, right? So
that's a fair point. Fair point.
So we'll see, right? We'll see if they actually take a step and do a third person game, because I would like to see like something where like you have movement and stuff like that, even if it's like more of a gear style action based game, but in that third person thing with really good shooting mechanics, right? Because not most, but a lot of times we get third person action games, they don't have really great shooting for me. It'd be serviceable, right? It'll be heavy story, it'll be serviceable, but it don't be like first. It doesn't hit as hard as first person to me.
Right.
So imagine a world where they do a third person action game, but it nails the shooting mechanics like a first person shooter would. So we'll see. So
I agree. Great points. I really liked your point about their characters that they do develop, especially the enemies, because one thing about Indiana Jones's movies, especially the early ones, memorable. Villains,
they got big characters because they kind of took that James Bond kind of.
Exactly.
For the big bad guys, right? Yep.
Yes, exactly. And they've even got like the sub bosses in there too, right? It's kind of cool. Those are great points, and I can't wait to see. And I hope you're right about that. And I believe that you are. Umbra, let's go, brother. Indiana Jones. What are you thinking here, sir? Todd says next year. Machine Games has been obviously putting in work on this game for quite a while now. You think next year, you think 2025, you think beyond, and what are your kind of expectations for this thing coming in on kind of a downturn, like Steele said, where Indy isn't as popular as he once was. He certainly has a lot of us fans out here, but he's certainly not at the peak of his popularity. Let's put it that way. What are you thinking here, brother?
Yeah, no, I'm kind of in the same way with it, because Indy, as much as I love it, and Harrison Ford is actually my favorite actor of all time. So I'm there, like all of us here, probably, more inclined to be excited for, because we grew up on that. So I'm there with it. I do realize, though, that time has gone by and people don't have that same appreciation and love for it. So as far as the casuals go, I don't know how well it's going to hit and receive, but that depends on what they do with the game mechanics and working of that world, I suppose, ultimately. The thing I'm excited for is seeing what Machine Games can put down. I don't know if it's going to be third or first, or maybe they'll have a mix of both. Maybe we can do both like we do here in Starfield. But as long as they capture the spirit, I think, of what Indiana Jones is, and some of that charm too, because Harrison Ford is a charming dude. I want to see some of that on display. I want to hear him say some of the classic lines. Like,
the voice is going to be interesting what they do with it.
It is, and I want to hear, like, hey, they got that technology out there, AI.
Listen, they've got people striking over that now. Watch it.
I know, right? Yeah, they would tear this game apart if they did that. Yeah, stuff like that. I want to hear why did it have to be snakes? I want to hear that. I want to hear things like that. So that's where I land on it. I just feel like we don't know enough to really say much. But if I have to guess a release time, I would say 2025, if not 26. But what surprised me rather was the news that that they were like halfway done. So I was like, okay, that's a little faster than I assumed. So I'm going to guess 2025 with this.
All right. Fair enough. Appreciate you. Really great thoughts. Again, we're in alignment here, because simple fact is we both grew up with Indy, and I do love Harrison Ford, obviously, but Indy is a key to my childhood movie watching, for sure. PTK Blam, sir.
Yes, sir.
Indiana Jones, another Xbox exclusive coming from the ZeniMax side, the Bethesda side. Machine Games, we know their history. A lot of love with Machine Games. A lot of people hoping that, in fact, instead of working on Indiana Jones, that they were working on the final chapter of Wolfenstein to finish that off properly. Some of us still believe that they might have two teams, that they might both be working on both games. But the fact is that Indy's probably the closest, no matter what, by the way that they're speaking about it, by what Todd said in his interviews. Next year, though, kind of excited to see it. We had our speculation about this year's showcase and what they were going to show, and I said it would be great to end the show with an Indiana Jones teaser. Obviously, we didn't get that, but next year it sounds like we're kind of locked in now. So how do your feelings go into this with what Todd had to say, and kind of where development cycle they are at? Again, take it with a grain of salt. The interviewers, GQ, Todd could have said that offhandedly as we're about halfway done. Maybe they're closer to 75% done. We don't know. But where are you at with it now, hearing this part of it that next year we might see, or at least start hearing about it more?
I understand. First and foremost, I do understand Steele's point, because that is real, right? That does matter, right? Like, now, how much it matters, that remains to be seen. We'll find it out closer to release as we get more information, right? So, I understand what he means about the actual franchise itself. My first question was, how close are we gonna get? Like, what time period of Indy are we gonna get? Old Indy, young Indy?
It has
what
to be
time
young
period?
Indy.
It's got to be prime.
It has to be prime.
Yeah,
I would assume too. And how close are we sticking to the actual movies? Are we doing something completely brand new?
You got to do something here. You might be able to mix some of that stuff in.
Yeah,
but you got to be brand new. You got to be maybe the first.
Are we going Jedi Survivor? Like, you know what I mean? Like, are we kind of coming off the beaten path, kind of here? You know what I mean? Like, that was another thing I was considering too.
Yeah.
Just and obviously with it being Machine Game, just to speak to that point, I'm a huge fan of their games. Obviously Wolfenstein. The big thing for me, obviously, like you said, was the third person thing. I always wondered, how are they going to tackle that, because they've never made a game where you've had to, they've never made a game like that. So how is that going to play out for them? But I'm super excited about the game. They make great games. They make great characters. Obviously, even the lead character in Wolfenstein, very iconic character, right? A lot of people, know who that guy is. So they're great with characters, great with story. They're great, obviously, with villains. They do that very well. The whole Nazi thing is kind of ironic, right? That kind of falls in line with the same type, the enemy type, right? It's kind of ironic that they share the same enemy type as Indiana Jones, right? So that's kind of funny. It just fell into their hands like that, right? That's that's the universe saying, there you go, right? That's kind of a universe giving them a thumbs up. But I'm super excited for it though. Like, we don't really know anything about it. I'm not as concerned with how far they are into the game. It is nice to hear that we're probably going to get something about it next year. I know you mentioned what are we actually going to see next year. I'm thinking a gameplay trailer at the very least. And once again, we've stated this before. I'm okay with just a scissor reel if this is your first time showing the game.
Correct.
I'm okay with even CGI if this is the first time showing the game. So I don't necessarily have an expectation to see actual gameplay right away. Maybe we see some type of sizzle reel CGI thing. Maybe not though. Maybe they really just jump off the porch here and say, forget it. We're gonna show you guys gameplay because we feel like it's far enough along and we feel like it's ready enough for you guys to look at. So, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was. So yeah, I'm really excited for the game. I feel like I'm going to be more excited as we hear more about it. I don't know enough about it right now to be, because I'm an Indiana Jones fan too. I'm an older gamer. You know me, you, Pong. We're all kind of in the same age group. So I understand the franchise isn't in its prime anymore, and that's a realistic thing. I got to come to terms with that, and that's real. But a good game is a good game, and if they make a fantastic game, and I pointed out earlier, we haven't really, this genre has been pretty empty. Right, like since the last Tomb Raider, we don't get a bunch of these like Indiana Jones kind of games. Like, we don't really get, at least not at the budget and level and quality that the Tomb Raiders and the Uncharted are at. Right, we don't really ever get those. Right, and so we don't even get Uncharted at all anymore. You know what I mean? Outside of a remaster or a remake, and in Tomb Raider once every so often. And so we don't really get games like this. So I feel like this is something that could bring light to that genre, bring light to that type of game, especially if they do it the right way. I'm hoping for third person too, because I feel like it needs to be. It's Indiana Jones, that, to get the sense of adventure. I feel like third person needs to be an option. Now they do for great first person stuff, but I feel like for this kind of game, if you're gonna give me the ability like to use the whip and have, you know what I mean, like all this kind of cool stuff, I like to be able to pull out and see the environment and see Indy moving around, and that's kind of what I want though personally. And I'm not, if it's not that way, I'm not gonna make it a big deal. But I'd like to see them go the third person route too.
Yeah, and I agree wholeheartedly. Again, I think that we are looking at a 2025 game here. I do think that this would be a great summer game. I think spring summer type 2025. I think this is a great way to start off the year with one of your first party AAA games. I think it would be fantastic. And I said it before. For me, this is kind of a dream come true to get an Indiana Jones game, because Indy was such a big part of my childhood. So I'm a nostalgia freak. I still live in nostalgia. I still drink from the cup of nostalgia. And so it means a lot to me. Now, that also means my expectations and what I do want to see from this game are a little bit higher, because I want to see the classic Indiana Jones. The voice thing that I brought up with Umbra is a big part that I'm really curious to see how they pull off and what they do there, because Harrison's voice is iconic. If you have been a fan of Harrison, if you watched his movies, he's got a very distinguishable voice, and I want to know how that's going to work, because like Umber said, with the jokes and the quips and all that kind of stuff that have to be a part of the game, that comes along with how he plays that off with his voice. So that's going to be important to me. And the second of all is seeing Indiana Jones, and I do want to see Indiana Jones, especially if we are doing a true adventure puzzle, type game. Obviously there's going to be action to it. Obviously there's going to be Nazis involved. Obviously all that's going to be a part of it. But if we are actually going in and searching for treasures, and we're in like, you know, Raiders of the Lost Ark with the rock and that kind of stuff, and the different traps, and we're platforming and doing that kind of stuff as well, like we see in Tomb Raider, Uncharted, etc., then I gotta have that third person view. Now, I'm not saying it couldn't be pulled off in first person, but I think that Machine Games is going to show that they can do third person with this game. I do think that they probably give us the option to go to first person, maybe in certain scenarios, maybe in shooting sections. I don't know how they're going to do that, but I do need to see Indy. I need to see the hat. You know, I need to see the outfit. I need to see the whip on his hip. Like, I need that for me as an Indiana Jones fan. But I'm extremely confident in what Machine Games is going to do here. I'm also more confident because, sure, Todd's got a lot on his plate. There's been some games where he's put his name attached to it, and he's probably he's not had his hands on as much as he normally would in one of his games.
And
obviously, yeah, correct. And he's also, you know, been so wrapped up in Starfield. But I think that because this has also been another dream of his, maybe a smaller dream to do an indie game, but because this has been something that he personally pitched and personally pushed for years prior to them getting the IP, I think we're going to see those Todd touches here. And again, it's still the dev team. Todd is just directing the orchestra. But I think that Todd's hand is going to be in this, and that he is such a lover of Indiana Jones, like myself, like some of us here on the panel, that I think we're going to see that extra special care taken in this IP. And I think they are going to nail this down, and I can't wait to see it. Again, I don't care what we get. I don't need, like PTK said, I don't need a gameplay trailer. Of course, that'd be great if they're ready. But if the first time around is CGI, if they just give me Indy silhouette looking over a jungle or whatever the case, and that music kicks in, right? That John Williams score kicks in, bro, I'm going to have goosebumps from head to toe. I even have goosebumps right now just thinking about it. That's what Indiana Jones still means to me. So this one's going to be a little extra special. Yeah.
Why don't you hum the tune for us?
Oh, no, I am not going to do that, sir. I am not musically inclined in any way, shape, or form, sir.
No, right? That's kind of your thing, Umbra, right?
Come on, Pong.
I'm not.
Don't put that information out the pasture.
I'm not doing it. No, see, I won't even do that because, my God, I'll blow people's ears out here. Pause. Anyways, no, I think it's a really cool discussion. I can't wait to see more. I'm excited for this one. Again, it's extra special for me, and I hope that, like everybody else just expressed here, at the end of the day, I just hope they make this a really great adventure game because, again, I think from Steele's original point, if they just make it a great adventure game and they pull that part of it off and they get the atmosphere that is Indiana Jones and all the different situations that he's put in, the crazy stuff that he has to go through during his travels, I think that will naturally pull in people who may not have that indie love that I do, per se. So, yeah.
No,
great discussion,
point,
brothers. Thank you.
No, for sure. Thank you for bringing that up too. You know what I mean? So great segue right into that topic, man. So great point. It's a game that, Pong, we've been talking about for a while. We haven't heard much about it, but every time we get to hear a little bit about it, it gets me a little bit more excited, obviously. And I think, you know, back to Starfield here, right? I think that helps. It does help Indiana Jones a little bit, right? I mean, I think it does kind of get caught up in the fallout of Starfield, you know, Starfield's success, I would say, right, Pong? I don't know how much you would agree with that, right? Starfield, you know, doing so well and being such a big IP. Obviously, it's not like, you know, Bethesda's doing the game. Bethesda proper is making Indiana Jones, but it does, I think, benefit from the fallout. Would you say it does help a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. Again, like, you know, other people express, you know, Todd's name on it is going to draw attention. People knowing that Todd was behind this push is going to draw attention. Not everybody's going to know that, but I think that, and on top of that, Machine Games has a lot of love. You heard it on this panel. A lot of people love Machine Games. A lot of people have been waiting for Machine Games' new, you know, Wolfenstein to finish off the trilogy, like I said before. But the fact is with that name stamped on there, if it shows off, yes, Youngblood was Youngblood, and there's some bitter taste for people. But overall, again, if they show it off and it just looks like a Machine Games game and it looks like they nailed the Indiana Jones adventure part, I think people are going to be all back in on this. And I think Starfield, the hype around it, the talk about Bethesda, again, like it has been, will only help them when they get ready to announce this game. For sure.
Awesome. Awesome here. So we got a little bit of time left in the show. So chat, if you guys want to drop a few questions, we'll go ahead and answer those. But I do have another topic. We're gonna kind of circle back around to Starfield. And actually, we're gonna just kind of talk about Xbox overarching here. And I want to get everybody here on the panel's opinion regarding just like this renaissance, like this period that we said a lot of us, and I want to make sure we give everybody their flowers that we're saying this, because some of us have been saying this for years, that this is going to kind of be a demark. Starfield is going to be kind of a point you're going to look at and say, maybe this is where Xbox has finally turned the corner. Some people would say turn the corner, others might not agree with that, but this is going to be a point we can look at going forward for Xbox and say, hey, they got the ball rolling, and this is where you can see that. Like, this is the clear point where the quality caught up, where the amount of games, these studios, everybody finally got on the same page. So I want to get, we'll start with you, Pixelbit, once again, since you're the new guest here, brother. Where do you just Xbox going forward, right? Like, we talk about this is not we're talking about Starfield. We've completely forgot about the ABK deal and everything, right? Like, for good or for bad, that's still a thing, and it's gonna have no, absolutely, right? I'm not saying it's a bad thing at all, right?
No doubt.
But ultimately, that's going to happen at some point. That's going to be part of the larger equation, right? So for Xbox going forward, the success of Starfield being kind of that point, where do you think Xbox is going from here? Do you consider this that point that you're going to look back and say this is where they finally got the ball rolling?
Yeah, I think this is the jump point for them, right? We've been watching Xbox kind of rebuild itself for like 7 years, right? Basically, no bullets in the chamber. Not enough studios. All the noise that we've dealt with over the decade or so, right? So, and we've kind of been waiting for them to start like unloading these games and these studios to finally hit their strides. The hope is that we would see that stride hit earlier this year. Didn't happen, but now, right, this game, regardless of any attempt to try to put it down, is showing that okay, this is quality right here. Not only is it quality, but it's polished, right? This is the first time the first time ever we're seeing a Bethesda game this polished, and that's due to Microsoft support, right? Forcing that delay, all that stuff, right? So that's we're seeing a instant benefit, as well as Hi-Fi Rush hit this year, right? I mean, the Game Pass games have been good, like so they're kind of at that point now where it's like, okay, we have all these studios, they've been incubating for all these years, and now it's time to start bringing stuff out. And I think this is the first sign that we should be expecting quality content out of Xbox multiple times per year, every year going forward now. So I mean, it's kind of exciting, right? It's kind of exciting,
Yeah.
and part of the excitement of this game, for everybody is also just being excited for the brand. At least for me, right? It's just it just feels like people are re-energized for the brand as well. Now because we're seeing like, okay, these guys they're serious and they can put out like great content. So I think this is definitely the start point for that, and then soon to be followed up with Motorsport, because that also is looking like it's going to be fire.
Oh, yeah,
so
definitely. We're gonna get some reviews on that pretty soon, I believe, within a week or so. I think people
yeah,
gonna be dropping
I think they're gonna start opening up on it this week. So
seeing a lot of people on X talking about they've gotten some behind the scenes stuff. So that's sounding like a huge game too. Hopefully we get some good stuff about that. But yeah, you're right. I think, and this is something, and I'll throw this over to you still here. We've talked about this. I'm sure you guys talked about it on Living Split Screen too. And I know you being a pretty objective, pretty fair dude, regarding Xbox over the period of time that they've been kind of on this roller coaster that we talk about. But is Starfield kind of that point for you that, okay, I can see everything finally coming together? We've been talking about it for years. They haven't really realized their true potential, which is kind of scary in one way, but it's necessary for them to remain like relevant. They need to do that. They need to be this good more often, right? Like, that's necessary. So to survive, you gotta keep up with what's going on. So just where you at going forward with Xbox, and Starfield being what it is, and seeing the bullets in the chamber, the roadmap, it seems pretty clear, and it's only getting better once things get settled.
Yeah, because Starfield isn't the perfect game that everybody was looking for.
Yeah.
I can't necessarily say that, Starfield is the beginning of that. I can't say it's probably when you're on a roller coaster, you're starting to come to the very top of that mountain. and they're getting to the tippy top of it. And the only reason I say that is because there's always going to be the back-ended criticism coming their way, just because of how they have now especially changed their approach on how they look at gaming overall, right? No matter what they do, the community is always going to engage with them at a level that they remember or they're comfortable with. As you continue to see, that's why the conversation about numbers doesn't go away. Although Xbox may come out and say that, hey, their numbers for Game Pass are this. Oh, the numbers for Starfield are 6 million. That's not good enough for a lot of people because, it's not, but is that sales? Is that what is it? Is that just somebody who just turned it on? Who matters? Did you play the game? Do you like the game? Did you add anything to the game? Any fair critique or any criticism that could help somebody else make a informed decision? In most cases, that's not what's happening. And unfortunately, there is that bias there that people try to, again, pretend like it doesn't exist, but it will for the foreseeable future unless this becomes a consistent thing. It'll never be Xbox is number one and PlayStation is number two. It'll never be that way because of how Xbox has treated the industry. But Xbox has also stated, and Microsoft, we got Satya behind you now, have also stated that they don't, it's not about having the number one spot. It's about growing our ecosystem. And as long as they do that, that's all that's going to matter. Starfield's a good pin in starting and really refining that ecosystem. Because when you think about it, you literally have access to more places than anybody and than anywhere else comparatively. So it's just options. There's all the multiple options that are being given out. More people than ever are going to be able to play Starfield, whereas that was different from Skyrim. Again, there was still that price skate there. This doesn't have that. So it's going to be interesting to see how things play out. Is this going to be my number one question? Is Starfield doesn't have to be a 90 plus rated game. It doesn't have to be game of the generation for it, as an example. But is this enough of a quality type game that is going to push Xbox over that 30 million mark? Are we going to start seeing that 35 million, that 40 million? Do people just subscribe like, I might as well? And then they start looking around, browsing, and then kind of grow from there. So that's me right now.
Yeah, and like I said, that remains to be seen. We haven't seen that yet. I mean, 6 million says a lot, right? In a 24-hour period of time or 2-day period of time, that says a lot across, the different ways to access the game. So, and I agree. I mean, depending on the impact, depending on how you value Starfield, maybe it's not as impactful, depending on your perspective, as some of us look at it is. I just think Starfield is a great culmination of the idea of what Xbox, like a lot of us think the like Xbox could be or actually is, right? When everything goes the way it should go. You know what I mean? Like that, this can be a regular thing for Xbox, and it's not like we give Xbox proper credit, more times than not. And I feel like we're comparatively fair to Xbox most times. So, let's go ahead and throw this over to you. We'll start with you, Umbra. We'll throw this over to you, Umbra. Get your opinion. What do you think going forward for Xbox, man? Everything's going well, everything seemingly hitting at the right time. They just came off, in my opinion, their best showcase ever. The Starfield Direct was amazing, and then Starfield actually follows it up with actually being more amazing than the actual Direct, which almost never happens, because that was like a legendary Direct, right? I don't really know one that compares to that, but what do you see Xbox going forward, just starting now?
So many things, man. I think much was made about Starfield being that catalyst that's going to lead into the next, I guess,
people
generation.
were saying that. Well, I mean, for good or bad, that was a part of the narrative.
It has, and I agree with it. That this is partly why I am so bothered by the review scores. Now, people will say, "Well, who cares? It's their review, blah blah blah." I don't care what they're talking about. I don't give a damn what they say in their reviews. I am talking about what is the perception. And the perception, unfortunately, is that this game is an 85. You see what I mean? Because you have people who have their agendas and they're stuck to that, and they're trying to torpedo this game, and that's unfair. I think everybody should care about a lack of integrity when it comes to reviews. Personally, I do. Now, I can't speak for everybody else, but that right there offends me. Before we get to Starfield being I originally had it at an 88 to 92, and most of us thought it's going to get that Xbox tax. You could say you didn't think it, you thought it, and sure enough, it got it. And the game is actually a 90 plus game. Just being real, I give it a 9. Some people I've seen a 9.5. I've seen, but I think it's a 9, and I think because this game, like Steele said a minute ago, it's still a generation. It still can be a generationally great game, even with the score it's got. I still right now it's my game of the year currently, and I think that right there, the way they landed with this and how they continue, I think in the positives, outside of Redfall with that misstep. I mean, Hi-Fi Rush was a great one. You know what I mean? Game Pass has been great this year. It's going to be even greater next month. So all these things are going to continue to overlap into each other, where it's going to be a point where it's undeniable to sit there and try to ignore Xbox. You know what I mean? As a viable platform, because that's what some people have tried to make their mind up to think. So I mean, going forward, we already know we had, like you said, one of the best showcases Xbox has ever had this past year, this past June rather. So we have all that coming beyond this. Who's to say that Fable won't be a game of the year contender or a game of the generation contender? Who's to say the next Outer Worlds won't do the same? You know what I mean? You got Hellblade 2. We got so much good stuff to look forward to. Next month, we got Forza Motorsport returning, and typically people might say, well, what about we had Halo, we had Forza Horizon 5. Yes, those are mainstays, right? We expect those to be decent to good to great, right? So that right there doesn't really turn the page for Microsoft. Now we need Gears to step back up. So while I'm expecting Gears 6 to land well, give them the time they need. The coalition are wizards with Unreal Engine 5. I had to work it in there somehow. So give them the time to really shine. And I think Microsoft now is at that point where they can allow their devs to take the time they need to give us the best representation of these games. And I think Starfield was that catalyst. And we're going to start hitting these back to back to back. So Phil already said the vision of having 4 AAA or at least 4 exclusive games landing in a year is right there.
And this deal isn't even inked up yet. Completely.
Exactly.
So
exactly. Imagine when a deal is done and we can start getting these Call of Duties day and date into the service. Like that stuff we ignore now, or we kind of forget about because the whole ABK thing is situated more or less now. We're still waiting on the CMA, but you get my point. But yeah, man, I mean the future is bright. I think you'd have to be a super hater to think that is like Microsoft, like some of these Who brothers go back and forth with, they're going to be a third party, publisher or whatever. Like, no, that's not happening. And people will downplay the 6 million in Starfield, like Steele was mentioning, but that was just concurrent. It had nothing to do with how many people in total are going to play this game. So they're just finding ways to try to tear the game down and tear Microsoft down, and it's not going to work. And because after a point, great games are going to get to people no matter what you do. I feel, and Microsoft are making a lot of good moves, and I just expect this to continue going forward. I think they have the right formula now. I think they just have to deliver it. That's it.
Yeah, good point. And I think Starfield is a great catalyst as well, because I think it's just a culmination of what, you know what I mean? Like, Todd talked about the relationship with Xbox and why it works so well and why the game being exclusive to Xbox, how it benefited, Starfield in its unique way, and them being able to provide the resources they were to the game really made Todd being able to envision, like, this is really what his vision was. Otherwise, he might have had to cut corners had this situation not come about, right? Had they not been able to spend that $7.5 billion, maybe Starfield doesn't come out the way it should have actually come. It's supposed to come out a lot sooner anyway, right? That we found that out, that the release date was a way earlier, and the version that we could have got probably wouldn't have been nowhere near the version that we actually got. And I think that's 100% confirmed at this point. So I want to make sure we get Game Positive in here too. Get your opinion going forward with Xbox, man, and just everything going on, man. Like we ain't even talking about ABK. Like we don't even have to include that at this point, just based on what we know now. And I like the fact that Umber brought up the point of, we have these other games. You still got Avowed. You got Outer Worlds 2. We don't know Fable. These are not, we don't know what these games, how great these games are going to be when they come out. So these are not known quantities at this point. But where you at with Xbox and the roadmap and the studios and everything?
I think if you're like an Xbox fan, like you're already in the ecosystem, you've been through the Xbox One generation. I think that the kind of lull that they had when they released stuff like Crackdown 3 and State of Decay 2 at launch, like they were like the quality level wasn't where like you would have expected it to be coming off the 360 and some of the earlier games on Xbox One. And I think if you're a fan, you're in the ecosystem, we're already on the ascent. Like at best, I think that it's just reassurance to the potential of these acquisitions. Like I'm sure everybody in here spent months and years talking about how much potential there was for some great games to come from the Bethesda acquisition and some of the other acquisitions. And this is just kind of reinforcing that we were correct on that assessment. But where Starfield kind of shines is that the people that are outside of the Xbox ecosystem, they might be considering it, or maybe they never really had a reason to subscribe to Game Pass. Anecdotally, I know for sure that Starfield has gained Xbox Game Pass subscribers. Everybody in my office is playing Starfield, and most of them are playing it via Xbox Game Pass. And these are all PC gamers that don't care about things like Halo and Forza. So it's just getting people in the door. I don't know if it's going to make it to the point where they are like competitive in terms of console sales with PlayStation, but I don't think that's the goal. Like somebody had mentioned here. I just think that we're on the ascension. Like you've already mentioned games like Hi-Fi Rush, Flight Sim, Halo Infinite, despite what anybody says, that game's awesome. Age of Empires 2 is the best RTS to ever be played on a console. There's just so many different things that they've done that we're just kind of along for the ride at this point. We've been going up and up for a long time, but Starfield's going to let more people hop on the train.
No, absolutely. Great point. Great point. Pong, did I get you in already?
No, sir. You did
okay,
not.
go. Yeah. Just so we're
I'm
on
always
you
last.
now, man.
Let's
yeah,
go.
All right. It's all good, brother.
No, I think we've spoken about this so much, PTK, over the past couple of years, just waiting for these moments, this one moment where it was going to be the tipping point, because we all knew it was going to be a tipping point, as much as people have tried to downplay and act as if all these devs, and this is even without ABK, all these devs that they've acquired are doing nothing but sitting around and twiddling their thumbs the entire time, right? We all knew that wasn't the case. In the way the confidence that Phil has exuded over this past year, especially this past 6 months, I would say, confidently saying he now sees the roadmap. It's no longer just a goal. He sees the one big game per quarter that him and Matt Booty expressed was their ultimate goal. He now can see it clearly, and I think that speaks volumes. And sure, proof's always going to be in the pudding. And again, we need to obviously get the games in our hands. But I think for Starfield itself, to Steele's point about it not coming out necessarily the way that everybody thought it should, or that that people thought it needed to, the fact is, and this is coming from a dude who has played all the Bethesda titles through the years, going back to Morrowind, the fact is that even if it's not perfect, even if the people are going to cry from the rooftops that this game is still buggy, blah, blah, blah. All that's noise, because at the end of the day, everybody who's played Bethesda games knows for a fact that this year that they gave Bethesda, this extra year to polish this game, shows immensely when you are playing Starfield. This is by far the least buggy Starfield game I have ever played out the gate, right? This is by far the least. I can't even compare it to what I used to play. And again, bugs don't bother me. Most of the time, I played Cyberpunk from day one without any patch on my Series X. And most of the bugs never bothered me in that game, unless they're game breaking, unless they screw up my saves. I don't care about bugs. But this one, hands down, is. The fact is, they allowed Bethesda the time that they needed, poured in extra money that would not have been there had they not been underneath Microsoft. So I do believe, in my opinion, that this is the starting point, that this does show the good that can be done with these studios that are now underneath the bigger Microsoft umbrella, the bigger Xbox umbrella, that they can live up to their full potential now. This game would have dropped, Starfield would have dropped at least a year ago. Potentially, if it was still ZeniMax and they were still hurting, they potentially could have dropped this thing 2 years ago. There was rumors and smoke out there that it was coming that early. So the real proof here for me, the proof in the pudding that I was talking about, is that Microsoft, that Phil, Xbox, all got together with Todd and his team and said, nope, take this game and make it the best game that you've ever done, at least the most polished game that you've ever had out the gate. And they did exactly that. And it shows through every time I pick up that controller. So if that is the new, again, Redfall was a massive trip up. We talked about it. We criticized it. We knew it. They should have been in there day one with Arcane. Again, that can't be changed. But the fact is that Starfield is the start of the avalanche that's coming. And I do believe that they now understand about quality. And I think that they do understand the importance of quality control. Not that they didn't know before, but they are now in a position to give these teams the time and the resources to do what they need to do to make sure the games come out polished. And I am expecting a different level from their future games. Not to say that every game is going to come out and going to be a home run. I'm not saying that. This business is risky. Nobody does that, right? Nintendo's had trip ups, Sony's had trip ups. It happens to everybody. But I do believe, as far as the quality and quantity of games that are going to be coming out, first party, big games, they are now stacked, they are lined up, they have the roadmap set, they have the flexibility to move games around now. We talked about this too, PTK. They have the flexibility that if a game isn't ready, if a team like Arcane were to be handling another situation like Redfall now, that they could step up early enough and say, ooh, look, we're going to need more time. Yeah. And we're going to show you why we need more time. And they now have the flexibility to move stuff around a little bit to give those teams that extra little push that they sometimes need. So I think this is the start. I think the avalanche is beginning with Starfield, and I think it is going to be a wild ride, like Gaming Positive was saying, from here on out. We just buckle up, get ready. Everything's lining up now. 1 game per quarter at least. And again, the diversity of the lineup, as Gaming Positive was pointing out, is something that I have pointed out numerous times. They have more and different titles and more and different studios that can make different games than anybody else out there right now. And you add ABK to that mix, sky is completely limited. In fact, space is probably the limit at that point, where they're going to be able to take this and what type of games we're going to see going forward from here on out. So yeah, I'm definitely in the mode that this is the start.
Absolutely. 100% agree. 100% agree. And it's interesting to see that we've gotten to this point with Xbox, and they've kind of gotten to this point and figured it out. And seems like better times are definitely ahead for the brand. And everybody's on the same accord. It's good to see. It's really, really good to see, because this is kind of what we expected going forward. So, like you said, it just all, it all remains to be seen. The game's got to come out. We'll see how that all plays out. But I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up this show on that note. Once again, a phenomenal show, a bunch of awesome guests tonight. So I want to, before we get into anything, you guys make sure you go down in the description, follow everybody that took part in the show, from the panel to the guests. You guys did a phenomenal job. Shout out chat. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're new here as well. Appreciate you hanging out with us. But let me get to around the horn to the pleasantries here. First and foremost, we'll start with you, Pixel G, because this was your first time on the show. I hope you had a phenomenal time, man. I had a great time. Always of your opinion. Super smart, always intellectual, man. OG gamer. I always love that, because me and you pretty much cut from the same cloth. You know what I mean? Come from the same era.
Gray beards.
Yeah, definitely, man. That's always a good thing, man. That commonality. But let everybody know where they can find you, Pixel Bit. Thank you for coming on as well.
Yeah, man. I appreciate the invite. You can find me on Twitter, now known as X, under Pixelated G. And you'll see me on Wilmy Hood show tomorrow at 7:00. And every now and again I show up on K Asante show with Everborn Saga.
Nice.
Yep.
All right, for sure. Shout out to Everborn K Asante Gaming Circle podcast too as well. But thank you, Pixelbit, for hanging out with us, man.
Thank
Do
you,
us a
man.
favor. You guys know what we do. Roll out the red carpet for the guests here, man. We make sure we appreciate their time and go follow them, go support, go do the likes and all of that cool stuff. But shout out to you once again, Pixelbit, man. Hopefully we'll see you back soon, brother. We love having you on, man. I'm sure Pong will
Absolutely.
awesome. I'm sure he'll regurgitate the same feelings as well. But let's go.
Yeah, we don't ever have to have Umbra on. Let's just have Pixel on all the time. Anytime you think about inviting Umbra, just invite Pixelbit G instead.
Now, Pixel was an excellent brother to bring to the show. I agree with that. However,
keep me out of this nonsense.
Pixel, see how he dragged you into it.
Drag you into that strays.
That's what ego does. Man.
That's because I appreciate you, Pixelbit. See, I'm showing my appreciation.
Oh, wow. Gaslighting.
Sheep's clothing, huh?
Gaslighting 101. Oh, God. You all hear that in the chat.
No, but shout out to you, man, for coming on. But yeah, let me throw this over to Game Positive, man. You made it through, man. You thugged it out. Like I said, I appreciate you making it through to the end of the show. Always gave great points, man. But let everybody know where they can find you, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Sorry I wasn't as alive as usual, but
it's all good,
I
man.
Managed to make it to the end. You can find me on X, I guess it's called now, at Game Positive, or you can check me out on Season Gaming. I just did the review for Sea of Stars, which is the best game to ever have a horrible release date. The game got destroyed by everything around it, but it is a fantastic game, and I appreciate it if you check out the review. We didn't get a Starfield code, but we are going to have some Starfield content coming soon, so keep an eye on that. I know Ains is plowing away at that game right now. So, yeah, tune into Season Gaming.
Awesome. Shout out to you once again. Coming through, even sick, man. The man thugged it out for us tonight and still gave great points and was on point. Appreciate you, Game Positive. And you guys, like I said, do me a favor. Go follow him as well. Shout out to Ains, everybody at Season Gaming. Once again, somebody who I highly respect. So anything Ains is a part of, I'm always with, man. So shout out to you. Thank you once again, brother, for making it through and helping us out today and providing some great takes, man, as usual.
Thank you.
So no problem, man. So Umbra, I don't really, think you need an introduction, brother. No, but shout out to you for hanging out, coming out, hanging out with us, man. We appreciate it, man. Another great show, lots of Starfield stuff, lots of Xbox stuff, but another great time, man. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, brother. Thank you guys for having me. Somebody beside myself, Pixel and Eric, and still had to bring the show up beside yourself, PTK.
Jesus Christ! This is never gonna end, right?
You done set them off, son.
Yeah, just let me know, so I'll shut the hell up from here going forward.
No, it was a pleasure to come here and try to uplift the show. All of us to uplift the show. From you, from Pong. Anyway, you guys, of course, can find me on Twitter, Infinite Umbra, Twitter X, I guess they call it now. I don't know what to call that thing. Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite. You'll find me either way. As far as what I'll be up to, of course, Tuesdays at 12 Eastern on Boom's Xbox Factor, and Thursday my own show, The Fix, on. I was going to say on, like I'm on a channel, or you can find me on channel 32, but at 8:00 Eastern on YouTube, of course. And Fridays, I'm just busy all week. 3 shows. Friday, Xbox Infinite with Riskit, Jedi Knight Peter, and now our newest member, that Blue Number, aka Holly, on 8:00 Eastern on Fridays. So come by, show us some love. Appreciate you guys in the chat, and appreciate you guys, yes, even you, Pong, for having me.
You're welcome.
That means a lot.
That was the least humble you're welcome I've ever heard.
It's your privilege even giving him a compliment, right? That's your privilege. Right? Jesus, how big of an ego do you gotta have?
The way he said you're welcome makes me want to retract what I said.
Oh God, it's terrible. It feels like a snake bite, right? Just ridiculous. Yeah. But no, but shout out to you, Umbra. Once again, always appreciate you coming on, brother. Anytime you have free time, you always know I love having you here. So, chat, you guys know what to do. Go follow Umbra everywhere he's at. The Fix, go watch it. Great show. Always doing big things over there. Always have great guests, great takes as well. And before I throw this over to you, Paul, we got to give Fuzzy a shout out too. I know he wasn't here this week, but shout out to Fuzz. Hope you having good. Hope you relaxing, chilling. Probably trying to figure out a way to play Starfield while you're away. I'm pretty sure that's the case, but Pong, how you doing, brother? Great show, great guests.
You better get my brother Steele in here.
Oh shoot, I'm tripping.
Jeez, oh,
Nah, I'm in the
man.
corner,
See how
bro.
Umbra threw you off there? See,
in the
that's
corner.
exactly what it is, man.
Oh, no.
See,
You were blinded by the light. I get it.
oh, exactly. Yeah.
Still, pardon me. Terrible.
Nah,
host.
I'm sleeping in
Pardon
the
me,
corner,
brother.
man. It's all good.
Nah, you good still. My brother still. Sorry about that, brother. No, go ahead. Let everybody know where they can find you still. Obviously, the other half of Living Split Screen, the legendary Saturday morning show, man, always doing big things. What episode you guys on, by the way?
118. About to be 119 next weekend.
Golly.
Mhm.
It happens. It goes fast, brother. But congrats to you guys. But let everybody know where they can find you, brother.
Man, you can find me in the dark hidden corner that PTK has put me in at Steel Rain. Probably I will never be found again. No, I'm playing. But yeah, no, seriously, you can find me everywhere. Steel Rain. Google's probably the easiest place to type it in. All the information comes up, and that is Steel Rain, where the T is a 7. Other than that, every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, and 3 p.m. UK time, me and my brother from another Pawn Soul host a non-console-centric platform that covers everything going on within the gaming industry. And the last couple of episodes have been nothing but Starfield. So maybe we don't. I don't know. I'm trying to figure things out. We are over 1K now, so we're on that road to 3K, just trying to jump those numbers up. But greatly appreciate you inviting us on, PTK. Y'all have a wonderful night. Stay safe. Travel the stars and get sexy if you can.
Shout out to you, Still. Appreciate you, brother. Once again, go follow Still, man. That man is amazing. Shout out to everybody. Go tune in to Living Split Screen every Saturday morning. Get yourself right every Saturday morning or watch the replay, man. It doesn't matter as long as we go support. So last but not least, Mr. Pong Soul, man, had to make room for the ego first. First and foremost, but the brother, a great show. Always love to having you on, man. The battery here at the Shop Podcast, man. Doing a damn thing every week, man. But let everybody know where they can find you if they don't already know.
Yeah. No, this was an absolutely fantastic show. Even with Umbra on, we did have another killer Saturday night. He is not a replacement for Fuzzy, but I guess he'll do for the time being. It's like going from a new car to a used car, but that's what it is. Anyways, listen,
only if the used car is a Bentley or
sure. Barn find 1950. All right. Anyways, everybody, this is a fantastic Saturday night. Love our guests. Game Positive. Got to give you an extra shout out for muscling through, man, and being here despite being sick. And that is one hell of a job. But of course, Pixel Big, great to hear your thoughts. That's the best part about this. No matter who's on our panel, it's always hearing different thoughts about these topics that a lot of us are talking a lot about. It's always those different perspectives, and all of you brought it tonight. And I just appreciate you guys coming through and really making Saturday night special, as it always here on the Shop Podcast. So thank you all for being here. Chat, you guys are absolutely incredible. Loving the Starfield vibing going on in all the chats this week. Most of the people out there, and again, the game doesn't have to be for you. I'm not telling you have to love this game, but the fact is most people are enjoying this game. My friends list is nothing but Starfield right now, like 90%. It's been crazy, and the chat's been bringing it on all these shows. So thank you all for being here. Love and respect to each one of you as well. So you guys know the drill. Pongsol on X, formerly known as Twitter. Pongsol on Xbox, of course. And then obviously the shows next week. I always will promote Boom, whether or not I'm there. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, Tuesdays, Xbox Factor podcast every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. Be there. Always a great panel. Double Barrel Gaming. Mr. Boomstick has helped so many of us in this community. I will always give him his props. And then, of course, Thursday night, we took off. The Fun Speculation family had a week off this week, but we're going to be back next week. So PM in the PM, Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. Myself, and of course, the man, the myth, the legend, Mav. We get down and dirty with all the topics. We're going to have a lot to talk about this week because we didn't have a show. 7 p.m. Eastern, be there for PM in the PM. And then, of course, Friday nights, Xbox Ultimate, where we never know how many people of the family is going to be there, but we always have a great time, whether it's 3 of us or whether it's 7 of us. So show up, lots of laughs, lots of great conversation, though, about the gaming news. Be there every Friday night, Xbox Ultimate, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. And then, of course, as my brother already said, Steele and I every Saturday morning, living split screen. Split screen is all one word, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Be there, join us. Mission 3K now in full effect. 4+ hours, buckle up. We went 4, or it's 3+, but we're on a 4 stretch here. So 4.5 this morning. So be there. We have a fun time. We get the chat involved every Saturday morning, and otherwise I'll be back here, God willing, for another Shop podcast. Otherwise, everybody, it's the golden age of gaming. It truly is. No better time ever. No matter where you're playing at right now, you probably got a dozen+ games that you just want to fire up. Of course, for me, it's only Starfield. Get out there, play what you love what you play. Have a great rest of your weekend. PTK, get us out of here, brother.
Appreciate you, Pong. Like I said, the battery of the Shop podcast. Easiest way to follow Pong is just go to X, follow him there. That's the easiest way to keep up with everything he has going on. And last but not least, your host here, PTK Blam, across the board at X, the app formerly known as Twitter. PTK Bam there, PTK Bam on Xbox as well too. Hit me up. You want to play some games? My DMs are always open if you guys want guest ideas or somebody you guys want to see on the show, ideas for the show in particular. My DMs are always open, so I appreciate that. But shout out to everybody who came out and just everybody in chat who supported the show, everybody who's gonna watch on the replay as well too. Appreciate you guys later on. But thank you guys so much, man. We had a phenomenal show. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you guys next week, same time, same damn place. We'll have another guest, I'm sure of it, maybe multiple, who knows. I'll get that stuff together as the week goes on. But see you guys later. Enjoy your night. Peace out, everybody.